Well done. Yeah, that's it. The empty chair syndrome, as we know it in the psychological circles. Hi there. Good morning. It's Kelvin MacKenzie. We have an interesting show coming up, pouring a bucket on quite a few people, almost exclusively socialists, because they're running the country and running it into the ground. So my first question is, one, why does Andy Burnham hate the wealth-creating South? After all, they're the only net producers of things called, do you remember those things called money? We need money in our country. We need people who create wealth. We've got a lot of the other kind who are happy to lie in bed, and the wealth creators send them money, and they don't even have to go and collect it anymore. It comes direct towards them. So that's fantastic. We need to find out that one. And the other great news, I'm really interested in, a whole load of cabinet ministers are going to go boom out the door today. Bang, out the door. The bad news is that it's going to go boom. A load of them are going to come in as well. So we're going to, actually, I read today that Lisa Nandy's going to get some kind of promotion. Honestly, the Secretary of State for Pies should spend a little bit more time getting herself into shape and a little less time trying to tell us what to do. Okay, two, I tell you what I am extremely agitated about. I heard a stat yesterday that at Exeter University, there are 80 people studying computer science course. They've all just graduated. It's a big event. It's a very emotional event. The parents are delighted. The grandparents are delighted. Everybody's delighted, right? Out of those 80, only 2 have got work. AI is not helpful because AI is replacing coders, but also what is not helpful are labour tax policies, where it's more and more expensive thanks to that rather cunning piece of NI nonsense, which has had such devastating consequences in the workplace, meaning that you don't want to hire these youngsters anymore. That is catastrophic. So I am going to look at that, and we're going to get some people, obviously, who don't look like me, to come on and talk about how tough it is to find work. And I think also, I hope to be able to get on a car expert to explain how it is that the average price of cars now is 40 grand. Why is that important? Because you end up paying a tax of 425 quid on top of £40,000 every year for 5 years now. So it's another 2,000 odd quid. So it's basically catastrophic. But obviously the big story of the day really is that we've got another Labour Prime Minister coming along. So the best person to talk about that has just joined me, Mike Graham.
Very good morning.
Yeah, morning, matey. I saw in a poll today by Survation that the country does not approve of the fact that we have a Prime Minister for the first time in my history, which is obviously a bit even
slightly longer than mine.
Yeah, it's longer than yours. Actually seems to dislike people from the South and the kind of the wealth creating or the a nice place to live and all right, so you have a nice car. These were considered normal aspirations in my life, and now are considered, oh, I see, you've got those, we're going to tax you more so that you have a shitty car and a small house like mine, right? So what do you think will be the political consequence? The chances of this working are nil, right?
Less than zero.
Okay, less than zero. When that happens, where does the hating the South help him? How can that possibly help him?
But also, what he's representing is not the North that you and I actually know.
Yeah.
Because the North is full of people who are actually rather successful.
Yeah.
You go to Cheshire, where there's quite a lot of money.
Yeah.
We go to Leeds, where there's quite a lot of money.
Yeah.
Even parts of Newcastle, I know people who are friends with the kind of Alan Shearer kind of brigade.
Yeah.
They've all got lovely houses just north of Newcastle. they're not sitting there going, oh, we really like socialism.
Yeah.
They're sitting there going, actually, we've got rather a nice house, we've got a nice Range Rover, we've got, a foreign, maybe a foreign property in Portugal.
Yeah,
We go there every year. These are not people, this idea that, suddenly up in the north they're all, flat caps and whippets.
Yeah.
Is absolute bollocks, I'm afraid. So he doesn't even represent
Right,
that,
but in the area that he was brought up in, which I imagine, I don't know this.
He's from Aintree, isn't he?
Is he?
He's not from Manchester. He's from Liverpool.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Your favourite part of the country. Sorry.
Do you know that club there, the Kelvin MacKenzie fan club there? I have to beat people off with a big stick.
It's true.
Right, to stop them joining.
Literally.
But literally. But is that what has created this? Is it because within the Liverpool area there are no Tory councillors?
Yeah.
There are no non-Labour MPs.
Right.
There's no.
There is Sarah Poach in Runcorn. Sarah Poach managed, albeit by 6 votes, but she won the by-election.
That's true.
So Reform have got a foothold, maybe. I just think Andy Burnham is a charlatan, right? He is a complete and utter misrepresentation of what he pretends to be. He's never been the ordinary working class bloke. He went to Cambridge University, he studied English literature.
But that's good, isn't it? Isn't that good?
I don't mind that.
Yeah.
I just don't like the fact that he pretends to be something else. He pretends to be the guy down the road who just kicks a football around.
Well, I see. He's now said that
he's not going to wear a tie.
Look, so I'm tomorrow. I'm going to have the Andy Burnham look. Okay, I'm going to wear the old t-shirt,
black t-shirt,
black
right.
if I can find one, black t-shirt.
Come in singing a song by the Smiths. It's all performative crap, right? It's rubbish. It's complete. He's no more northern than I am. But he's making out that this is some kind of new revolution.
You are vaguely northern.
Well, I'm not at all. I was born in London. North London, you could say. I mean, my parents were Scottish. But
your dad,
Yeah, both of them. But I was born in London. I've been in London all my life. And, I don't have any great affinity with the north. But what I do know is that there are plenty of people from the north who are very successful, who run some very good businesses,
right,
and who do not identify at all with this kind of we're all poor. And I also had a great message overnight from one of my Substack subscribers who said this myth about Andy Burnham fixing Manchester is complete bollocks.
Yeah.
He has messed up the tram system is screwed, the bus system's no good, there's congestion everywhere. People are not happy in Manchester with what he's done. So again, it's all a myth. Right.
So, okay, I totally buy that. So he's now going to create a cabinet in his own image, right, in whatever. By the way, I enjoy that. I'll load them with the one I really enjoy is that guy Steve Reed being, I think it's Steve Reed. Anyways, Reed being thrown out.
Reed being thrown out.
Yeah, the Lambeth Council.
What about Peter Kyle?
Oh, yeah.
And his unusual friend.
Yeah, he has a friend.
He's got a friend. I don't want to talk about it.
We're an equal opportunity lover, aren't we?
I mean, he's got this young boy, stroke man.
Yeah, he's 25. The boy is 25.
The boy is 25.
He's in his 50s, isn't he?
Yeah. I mean, they seem to be quite close. Apparently, they work out together. I go to the gym. I'm going to go to the gym later. I don't work out with a 25-year-old young man. I don't know about you.
I don't go to the gym, actually.
I find that a bit unusual.
It is unusual.
I mean,
he's going to get the push, though, isn't he?
He will.
He's going to get the shove. Yeah. So that's good news.
Yeah.
What is not good news is we've now got a Prime Minister who could literally, because of the majority, do almost anything.
Yeah,
and that's why I don't think he will go to the country. Yeah. Okay. Nigel Farage forecast literally a couple of years back that there will be a, quote, early general election, unquote. He didn't put a date to it, but he said that it won't run the full term. How do you feel about that?
He thinks 27 is... Well, I was of a similar mindset.
Right.
I've been saying ever since Labour got in that Starmer wouldn't last.
Yeah.
And I was told by people much cleverer than me, there's no mechanism by which you can get rid of a Labour. Well, that was cobblers. I now think that there will be, I've always thought in the past 12 months there will be some kind of economic catastrophe which will force an election on us, and that's what I think will happen.
Do you honestly?
I honestly do think that.
I mean, much as I hate Labour, I don't want an economic catastrophe. The reason I say that is because I remember that, and I know that the viewers will find this hard to believe, I am old enough to have taken part in that, which then led to me going to the States, going to live there for a while. And it was horrendous. It was terrible. all kinds of terrible things were happening. And this is what I hate about what Burnham has said. If you lived through those 70s, you were pleased with the 80s, right? Why? Because things were being sorted out. There was work to be had. It wasn't traditional work. Who would want to say going down the mines is a good idea for a human?
No.
I can understand it for a machine, but for a human.
Yeah.
The fact that jobs were lost, I realise it was a tragedy, and we should have done more for those communities. But even allowing for that, it gave us the opportunity actually to rebirth. There is going to be no rebirth under these people. So what is going to happen?
Well, that's the problem, isn't it? Because what they're not doing is creating. All they understand is spending your money and my money and public money. They think that's called investment. It's not. They need to give people the ability to pay less tax, to hire more people. I mean, I talk about this all the time. My two young sons, one is just leaving university, one is about to go. They can't get a job doing anything. It's not even, well...
Let's go into the detail of that. I'm fantastically interested, mainly because I tweeted yesterday some information I got at the weekend, was that at Exeter University, there were 80 graduates of computer science.
Yes.
Now, you would have thought 10 years ago, I can guarantee you, because I was in the hiring business there, over the last 7 years, these people would have started at 35 to 40. They would have given you the biff as an employer, and they would have gone on somewhere. And in London, they'd be making 80 and 90,000 a year by now.
Yeah.
Of those 80, only 2 have got work.
Yeah.
Only 2. Tell me about your sons.
Well, I hear from people.
Tell me about your sons.
All right. So the oldest of the youngest, as it were, is 21. He's done a 3-year course in what's called music management. Now, you might say, well, that sounds like a bit nebulous, what it's all about. But it's, a bit of marketing, a bit of promotion. I know people in the music business who struggle to make money because they've got venues which are getting absolutely caned by national insurance, getting caned by the minimum wage.
Yeah.
He works, the 21-year-old does a shift in a place called the Ritz in Manchester, which is part of the O2 network.
Oh, right.
Right. As soon as Labour got in and went to the national insurance and said, right, we're raising that, he got less work. So he was doing, whatever it was, 15 hours a week. It got cut to 10, and he's been told, there's not really much hope if you want to work here after you leave university. We can give you maybe 1 shift a week. I mean, you can't live on that, because as soon what also happens, as soon as he leaves his hall of residence, or as soon as he's finished his course, he gets hit with council tax, right, which he doesn't pay as a student.
I see.
Fair enough, but
so what's he going to do? Is he going to move from Manchester?
He's going to move home. He's going to move back home to live with his mother.
I hear this a lot.
Which is happening a lot. He's 21. He'd probably quite like to stay out there in the big wide world, but he can't afford to. So he's moving back home. He's going to look for a job in Sussex. There aren't any. No. Right? He then has to think about maybe getting a job in London, in which case does he come and live with me? Does he commute? Can't afford to commute because it costs about 50 quid a day to come up from Hastings to London. It's ridiculous. And there's just not... The hospitality jobs that used to keep people like me and you going, maybe before we became, titans of the media industry. Sorry,
or titans. In my case.
But you can't. There are no jobs like that to be had.
Well, I tell you what. Right? Where is anybody coming on? What's happened to the gentleman who was talking to me from the production team about the issues of? He's 25. Where is he?
He's editing next door. He's got a job.
Collapse of the discussion.
But this is the great thing about what we're doing here, because in addition to putting the world to rights every morning, I'm very proud of the fact that we're actually creating opportunities for people. Yeah. And I was at a rather swanky garden party yesterday.
Hold on.
You'd like
Hold
to hear.
on. Garden party alert.
Garden party in a place near Bromley.
Oh, right.
Quite near Bromley. It's Colonel Bob Stewart's house.
Oh, yes, right. Who looked an absolute shambles when he was on here, by the way. Is he all right?
He's fine, absolutely. Loves it, yeah. He said, they tried to prove that he was a racist. He's now proved that he's not a racist.
Oh, right.
So he can now say whatever he wants. But that's another story. Yeah. Anyway, so
And how many were there at the garden
It was
party?
a good, I don't know, 60 or 70 people.
And were they? They're all left-wingers, presumably.
Not at all, no.
No, I'm joking.
No.
Right. So were there anybody there who anybody online would like to?
Well, there were lots of people who want to come and work here.
Oh, were there?
Right, who want to do shows and all sorts of things like
Oh,
that.
were there?
You know, so yeah, very.
Well,
very
that's
interested,
good.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that we're sort of fighting back against the tide because most
But we
businesses,
can't employ everybody, can we?
Well, no, we
So,
can't.
right. So here's my plan.
But what I'm saying is that there are people who, for one reason or another, are not finding opportunities outside of where you would normally find them.
Yeah.
They don't know what to do.
Right. So here's my plan.
Right.
Okay. Having heard the Exeter University story anecdote, all university courses that don't guarantee a job or where there is definitely vacancies at the end
Yeah.
to be shut.
Yeah.
Because there is, it doesn't mean that English courses will be shut down because you can become a teacher.
Yeah.
Right? But AI is going to mean that starter jobs are going to be difficult to find.
Yeah.
And even, for instance, what about this story? A friend of mine is going through a divorce right now. Okay? Sad
First
story.
one? First one?
He is his first one. Very happy marriage for 30 years, and then there was an occasion. But anyway, moving right along. So he's techie. He uses AI. Right? He still has to fill the form in, but then...
to get his divorce, you mean?
Yeah, and then sends... Oh, no, it
that
works.
That could be tricky, that.
But it's saved. No, you just have to carry on. I mean, there's no argument between either side over what the breakdown was. It's just simply a financial division.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
He uses it. His soon to be ex, or actually ex now already exists, doesn't use it. But however, when they went to court, the judge said that's the best presented
really
kind of
But
legal.
you see, interesting point though. Is it legally binding if it's been created by an artificial source?
It's not created. You put your information in. They put it into the form, which a solicitor would then charge you.
Because I know you
saved him 18 grand.
How about this, right? I told you I was going to meet this interesting guy on Friday, having lunch with this character who wants to set up an alternative media platform. Even more interesting than I thought it was going to be.
Okay.
Because they talked about the fact that, for example, in media, if you've got an AI machine, if you like, for want of a better word, and I know that's a bit clumsy, if the AI machine writes a piece that goes in the paper and it's wrong and it's libelous and whatever happens, who's responsible for that? You might say the publication is, but if it's actually just published online, for example, you take a view because where is the responsibility for it? And that's none of that is clear right now.
No, it's going to be difficult. Mike, thank you very much indeed. Very good to see you, man.
Nice to see you.
And it's nice to know that you're wandering around Bromley on a Sunday afternoon, meeting.
Touting for business, basically.
Touting for investors. Thanks very much indeed.
See you later.
Right, Mike Graham, who does, it's a nice thing he does. He comes in and shoots the breeze, and you'll be pleased to know that he's got such a following that the audience hits a fresh peak when he comes on and drifts down very slowly as it all becomes clear that this rather elderly bloke here is of not much interest and can't even do his tie up. Right. Okay. Right. We've got some that thing about yes, that thing about kids looking for work means that kids are staying at home instead of going out into the big bad world, because the big bad world's expensive and they have to rent a house or rent a room in a house or something, or rent a flat. Right? That's not possible if they're not earning. This is a proper issue, and an issue that needs to be dealt with right this minute.
Kelvin, quickie.
Yeah.
They can hear me.
there's a knock-on effect, because when your children live at home, it means that, and they don't have work, it means that you, as a parent who's worked hard all your life, have less money in your pocket. You're spending less in the shops. We're not going out to eat. So there is a massive knock-on effect there.
Okay, well, actually, I would leave my children to starve upstairs while I go out to a rather decent restaurant. I'm not going to start worrying about my kids at my age. I didn't worry about them when they were younger. I can't worry about them now. I was voted worst dad in Britain 4 years running. Okay, fine. Coming on now, we have Bruce Unfiltered. Yeah.
Hello, Kelvin.
A good name that, Bruce. Tell me, look, it says here on my prompt here, why don't people give a toss about, or actually people don't give a toss about politics. Is that actually true, that they don't give a toss about politics, but they don't like the effect that politics has on them?
I don't know, Kelvin. I think I would say yes. I think people existentially, I wouldn't say don't care. I think they're just disconnected from it, because it's overly complicated, the way they put bills and acts and things like that through, the legislation and policy. People just don't have the time to take an interest in it. And I think, just referring back to what you guys were just speaking about, people are busy in their lives. They've got a lot going on. And who comes home and spends 3 hours trawling through government paperwork, and then you expect the media, hopefully, to try and break these things down and explain them to you, and they just don't. They don't at all.
Yes, look, I totally buy that, but they do. My experience is that the drip, drip, drip of politics does affect the way that people intend to vote and intend to talk. And when they talk about things down the pub, I totally agree. They don't spend a lot of time saying, "Have you seen?"
But look how they're trying to take that away, Kelvin. They're destabilising the pub community and destabilising communities, in the sense that they're running pubs into the ground, because that is a key focal place people go to discuss politics, and it's just disappearing. They're doing everything they can to hammer businesses, and it's like they're trying to take away the plausible places that people go to have these debates and to talk, and it's becoming very much an echo chamber, where you're in your own little silo of what's pushed onto you. And as we know, in the media and multiple different channels, depending on what newspaper you read, will heavily influence what you believe in.
Yes, I totally get that. And actually, the truth about the matter is, I like reading the opposite view to myself, only to think about what the opposite view actually really is. Most people are far too sensible to get involved in that load of old tosh, okay? So if I ask you, this is an important day today, because politics is about having an ability to say something, is in truth. So we're seeing a changing of power. I am puzzled about why on earth we have a prime minister who seems to dislike the mores of an entire chunk of the country, especially when they create most of the wealth. And they create most of the wealth because we have the city based in London. If the city were based in Manchester, I'm sure that would be creating most of the wealth. So it's just a freak of geographical nature. The capital is the centre of a financial district which makes most of the money. Is it really in his interest to be hostile to the very thing which is going to give him money so he can hand it out to the skin? Why? Why would he feel like this?
I've done stuff previously across my media, which sort of alludes back to the fact that these guys are heavily funded through donations inside the country. And I did a video not too long ago about the £767 million that's been funneled into the Liberal Democrats, Labour and the Conservatives. Yeah. Whether people like it or not, money runs politics. It's as simple as that. And I think we've had, I can't quote the exact thing, I just saw it as a brief headline today, that we've had another billionaire who's now prepared to leave the country because of plans to tax the wealthy, which I never think they really think about these things. And unfortunately, what generally happens, Kelvin, and I think what we could all agree with, is they make these bold statements about taxing the wealthy, but the wealthy know how to avoid this stuff. They know where the tax havens are. They've got accountants and big lawyers and people that can get them around these loopholes. And what we actually end up finding is it creeps into your average Joes who are trying to earn a decent living, earning 100, maybe 120 grand a year in a household. That money then starts to come off of them. They get pushed further down the chain.
Yeah.
We then see, as was alluded to earlier, is that then creeps. It's a domino effect. You then have kids living at home because the parents can't pass the wealth down. It's just a domino effect across the country. And I personally believe when they make these bold statements about taxing the rich and taxing the wealthy, they actually just mean us, and they're trying to clamp down on aspiration, trying to clamp down on entrepreneurship, trying to just make life as difficult as possible. And I think we've seen that is kind of how far can we keep pushing until they start to push back. And the general public, unfortunately, get wrapped up in day-to-day life where you're having to work more hours. You look at exactly what the gentleman said prior to me coming on is kids are having to stay at home. You're having to fund your kids. It takes time. It takes your own money away. You're spending less in the economy. And it just seems to be this step that's been happening for the best part of 30 years.
Bruce, just to come in on that,
Yeah.
I personally don't disagree with any of it, but that's not the reality is that 50% of the country now don't pay tax. Okay. And actually, bizarrely, what's also happening is I saw a stat yesterday in the Sunday Times, which HMRC's numbers, latest stats, show that 10% of the top earners now pay 60% of the tax.
Yeah.
And honestly, I get the impression from Burnham that he won't be happy, or his mates won't be happy, all from the north, until that figure goes from 60% to 100%, i.e., nobody pays tax, right, with the exception of one poor soul living probably somewhere in the Chelsea or South Kensington area who's now paying, 800 billion a year in taxation. We can't have that. I agree with you. Right. We have to get through this point where making 120 grand a year, I promise you in London, I know it sounds bizarre, is not a phenomenal amount of money. And the idea that you can't even aspire to it, right, anymore. You're not allowed, thanks to some northern cloak over the nation, you're not allowed now to make money, okay?
Yeah.
We never, ever, 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 ever talk about wealth creation. We talk about productivity, right? People are talking about making money. They want to give money to their kids. They don't want to have that taxed as well. Yeah, this thing about bank and mum and dad, supposing that goes bust, who on earth is going to be able to afford housing?
I think you're as fully aware as I probably am. I was 21 years old when Tony Blair came into power. Right. So I've seen these two governments for the past 30 years operate the way they have, and they seem very, very similar. Different slogans, different headlines, different colour, same agenda. What that agenda is, I think, is quite clear to see, which has been a removal of what. So obviously, if we go back to the boomer generation, and I know a lot of people make comments about Thatcher's era and the boomer generation, but what we effectively saw was wealth was passed down to people. They then were purchasing houses for, say, 10, 15, 25,000 pounds that over a period of 20 or 30 years exponentially rose and gave that generation an abundance of wealth. My parents would then try and pass that wealth down to me so I could then pass that wealth down to my son. And it seems that what we've had for the last 30 years is they're trying to do everything they can to chip away at that sort of, I wouldn't like to call it a gravy train, but it's taxed on money. It's money that's been invested.
It's
you
true.
were always encouraged for the best part of your life to save up. And my parents have had that driven into them. Save your money. And then they get to a point in their life where they're trying to pass it down to my generation because we're all struggling. Our kids are struggling, and we want to. And then what do you see? You see recently they go and add a 22%. It's not. I know it's not a lot, but it's a creep. 22% tax now on ISAs. ISAs are supposed to be protected. The whole point of an ISA was they were tax free and a way for you to sort of squirrel your money away. Effectively, it was the digital version of putting the money under the mattress.
Yeah.
And they just seem to be going into everything and just trying to stop people, and that's aspiration in itself. And I know that people's parents who are lucky to have that are going to benefit from it, and there are a lot of people in the country that don't benefit from that. But when you start, and the problem is, Kelvin, it's it's not just one thing, is it? We all know this. It's an education system that's been driven down one avenue for the best part of 30 years with driving everybody into degrees. And I had conversations this weekend with young people who were saying they're trying to apply for jobs and there's 20 other people applying for the same job who've all got the same degree. Then you've got an absolute decline in apprenticeships. I think we need, which then takes away, so that old school people going into apprenticeships, going through their level 3 carpentry, plumbing, electrical stuff, who would then feel that they could go out and afford to buy a new truck, but have a home to buy and create a business to then take on apprentices. They just don't have the ability to do that anymore because they can't even get out of mum and dad's house, let alone afford a car, let alone afford the business rates.
And what a bloody nightmare that is. I don't want my kids hanging around the bloody house either.
And they're 30 years old now.
Yeah. Well, in my case, they're all about 190 anyway. So anyway, they the idea that you've got old people living in the house is absolutely disgraceful. Honestly, Bruce, fascinating to talk to you. We will do this again. Thank you for sparing the time.
Pleasure.
Right.
Thanks, mate.
Well, he talked a lot of sense, old Bruce there. And the fact he was 21 when Blair came to power, which was 97, you can work out that he's even younger than me. He looks in better nick as well, unfortunately. And not only that, tie of mine is obviously too expensive for my Marks and Spencer white shirt. I'm going to have a word with M&S about this shirt, which is obviously a problem. It's either that or I ate too many pies over the weekend, one or the other. Right, so we got coming up, now we've got a good thing coming up. We've got Jessie coming up in a while. She's kind of a kind of UK live political expert. She's lived a life, the like of which none of us will have lived at her age. She's 25. She'll talk about some of the issues the young face today. She is taking the issues head on. You wouldn't know that she'd had one single issue in her life. And in some ways, she's far too glamorous to be in here. So because we're all right for me and Pooch, we supply the ugly end of the spectrum. And so we have to have Jessie's to come in. Otherwise, all the viewers will start thinking we're all taking ugly pills before we come on here. But one of the stories that caught my eye was the fact that the average price of a car now is 40,000 quid. Is Jeff around, by the way? He is jolly good. Is that the average price of an average car now is 40,000 quid. The effect of that is that the tax kicks in as though it were a quote, expensive car. It's 425 quid, and you've got to pay that for the next 5 years, I think, after the first year. Look, one of the problems is we aren't creating any wealth, which is a story we've already had. We've got an expert,
Jeff buys cars.
Jeff buys cars, who now seems to have disappeared. So he'll be back in, I'm told, in 2 seconds. And he's described as our motoring expert. He seems to have jumped in the car and driven off.
He always does his interviews from the cars.
Oh, does he? Does he do interviews from the cars? Well, that's a good idea, actually.
Well, let's get Jessie on.
Okay, all right. Has he disappeared then?
I'm sure he'll be back in 2 seconds.
Okay, fine. Jessie, would you like to come on?
What car are you driving nowadays, Kelvin?
I am driving a Range Rover.
Yeah.
But it's not an expensive one. It's a cheap one. It's a Evoque.
That's the girls' one, isn't it?
It is the hairdresser's one.
Here we go. Here's Jeff Byker.
Oh, hold on. Come and sit down anyway. Oh, hi, Jeff.
Hey, my phone overheated just as I was about to come in the studio.
I tell you what, Jeff, it's good to speak to you. So I just want to talk about this idea of taxing the hell out of cars at a time when actually cars, 40,000 quid now turns out to the average price of a car, right? I find that, first of all, it's a lot of money. I totally get that. But why on earth are we paying this? And I presume that's never ending, that the 425 will be going up since this government hates people who have cars, probably hates car owners anyway, but also seems to hate the idea that you have a nice car. That seems to be another class war aspect of life.
Well, I think the government actually just hates people. I was listening to that section.
Good point there, Jeff. Good point.
I was listening to that section just before my phone overheated,
Yeah.
And God, it's depressing, isn't it? Isn't it depressing? Like tax on an ISA, for example. I mean, how can you tax something that was already taxed before you put the money in there, before it was taxed? There's tax on tax on tax.
Yeah.
And it's the same everywhere. So, yes, the price of cars has gone insane. Since COVID, we've seen the price of the car on the forecourt go absolutely through the roof. You were talking about tradespeople wanting to buy new vehicles. If you're a plumber, an electrician, whatever, you want to go buy a new transit van. Well, go back 10, 15, 20 years, the price of a transit van has now doubled or tripled. So our basic work vehicles are now so much more expensive than they used to be. Your new family car, and it's partly because they're all loaded with technology that nobody asked for and that nobody needs. So now your basic Ford Focus is now what, 30 grand? It's wild.
So one of the issues that perhaps we could talk about this. One of the issues that I face is my car's a hybrid. I am going to be charged 1.5. This is under some mad Labour scheme, 1.5p per mile under this pay tax as you drive. On top of that, I'm paying for my petrol tax. I don't use the hybrid in my car because it literally lasts about 20 odd miles before it claps out, and I can't be bothered to put the charge in. Okay? How can this be sustainable? How is it intellectually sustainable that I'm paying for two sets of taxes where I don't use one of the areas which is charging me the tax?
Well, it's because we now live in clown world. So the thing is, because you're driving a hybrid because someone decreed that the emissions on your car had to reach a certain level, and the way the manufacturers decided to get to that emission number was by fitting the electric stuff. It was never about making it a better car. So the taxation is based on the engine that you've got, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's any better for the environment. We live in clown world now where nothing actually makes any sense. And if you want to buy and drive an old diesel that you can afford and that you own, they want you off the road as best as they possibly can. For most people, the hybrid thing doesn't make any sense. And a lot of company car drivers have been putting these plug-in hybrids. And then when the cars go back to the lease company, they find that the electrical charging cable is still wrapped in the plastic bag in the back of the car because it's never been used. So this car that was built to be low emissions has never done any of its low emission bit, because the customer that ordered it only had it because it was cheap company car tax, and that was the car he was forced to have. It's not about the environment. It's not about saving money. It's all just a grift at this stage, isn't it? I do believe that it's all just about control, and they call me a conspiracy theorist, but I keep being proven right.
No, do you know what? I'm one of those that the old plug-in is in the rear of the car. I've never used it. So when eventually I'm annoyed. I'm annoyed that I am going to have to pay 1.5p a mile and petrol tax, and I will definitely use the car less in the future, I think.
The thing is, the pay per mile, I mean, that is the bridge that we cannot cross, okay? So I've been talking about pay per mile on my YouTube channel for some time.
Right.
Pay per mile is what they want to get in, because if they introduce pay per mile, then it allows them to install the cameras. And it's only ever been about installing the cameras. And again, you say, oh, well, it's 1.5p. It's only 1.5p. Well, it won't be next year, and it won't be the year after that, and it won't be the year after that. Imagine when we get to a point when your summer journey to Cornwall, your 200 miles is £2 a mile, and then you've got 9 hours of traffic to go and get down to the caravan that you've rented in Newquay that was £3,000 for the week. We're getting to a stage where people are going to be imprisoned in their own homes by traffic and costs.
Jeff, I get that. People will definitely drive less. And the other issue is that you'll be in the bizarre position where it'll be more expensive than to travel by a hugely expensive train, right? In which case, they'll keep pushing the train up. They can so they've got two ends of the spectrum. and they're both putting the damn thing up. I totally get you. Jeff, I've never met you before, but I'm beginning to think you actually understand the thought process of these people. I've just had a rather offensive text sent there saying, what kind of clown are you, Kelvin? Right? Well, actually, I think we know what kind of clown I am, right? But thanks very much for asking. Well, what kind of clown are you? Are you buying a hybrid car and then don't use the hybrid? I reckon loads of people will be like me. I reckon loads of people will be in my case, I can only do 50 odd miles or something. I only bought the damn thing because I like the colour of the car, right? And the other thing was, I was very impressed by the sales guy, young sales guy. I said to him, if you've got any ideas, I'll fund you. Let's go into some kind of business together. Clever guy, right? Clever guy. We talked about a few things. The next minute was, he left, right? He left, right? Probably because I suggested we work together, right? He left and set up a business with somebody else. So that's my sales technique. But Jeff, if you had to close your eyes, you open them up. Okay, you're right. Keep them closed. Keep them closed. Open them up in 5 years' time. What percentage of the car market will be electrical?
I don't know, because there's so much that's going to happen in 5 years' time. I mean, the question is, are we still here in 5 years' time? You know, you've got Agenda 2030, you've got all this dodgy stuff that's going on. If you go back 6 months, could you have predicted where we were going to be 6 months or 12 months ago? I think trying to predict where we're going to be in 5 years is now virtually impossible. I don't think it matters. I think the goal is to get us off the road. The goal was never to replace every single car with an electric car. The goal was just to get us out of our cars and have the few cars that are remaining on the road constantly tracked, constantly monitored, and charged for every inch that they drive. So in 5 years' time, well, hopefully I'll be in a different country by that point, but I guess we're going to have to cross that bridge when we come to it. But we cannot cross the bridge of pay per mile, because like I say, it'll start at 1.5p, it'll be 10p the next year, and before you know it, it'll be £5 a mile. Because as you know, the motorist is a very easy cash cow, and because we're British, we just touch and we go, oh yeah, that's not very good. But nobody ever sets fire to things like the French do. If the British started setting fire to things, maybe life would become a bit more affordable, because, you know, doing things diplomatically and legally and politically, well, that clearly doesn't work. So it's time to start lighting some fires, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't mind. Hold on, two can play at this bloody game, Jeff. We can't. Hold on a second, I've got a more attractive picture of me. Anyway, enormously handsome. Jeff, I'm going to leave you. Thank you very much for talking some sense. If I'm a motorist, all I can expect is an escalation of... Right, well, that's the end of that. Well, no,
I'm still here.
Okay, well, actually, that was more attractive when you were on. Right, it says, and another one here, sell the car, Kelvin. You're more suited to a mobility scooter. Now, you're being ageist here. Jeff, have a word with that guy, will you? Stop your relatives writing it, texting it. Okay, all right, well, look, I like you, hope in 5 years' time I'm somewhere else, but mainly in the northwest, that's somewhere else with 6 foot underground as far as I'm concerned, I'm afraid, so that's a bit uncomfortable. Jeff, nice to speak to you. Hope to speak to you again on these kinds of issues. You certainly punch your weight. Thanks very much indeed. Right.
Cheers. I'll get a new phone for next time. It's been balancing on an ice pack the whole time, and then that started to melt. So we'll see you next time.
Anyway, that's pretty good, actually. It's at least as good as here. I must be honest with you. Anyway, thanks very much anyway. Right, well, as we like to add glamour as well as intellect to this this show, I've got Jessie Kane, who's joined us. Hi there. Morning, Jessie.
Morning.
Morning. Thing about Jessie is that she's lived a life, the like of which none of us have lived, and actually not many of us want to live, and yet full of humour, full of energy, and always good to see you. Big day today, politically, and I know politics is your major big love in life. But before we get to that, you're what, 25, 26?
I'm 25.
25. A couple of the production staff here are similar age to you. They were saying to me that they both went to university. I don't think you did go to university.
I did go to university.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay, but they went to university, and what they said has happened is that most of the people they know either are not in work, despite getting degrees, but also secondly, that they're taking jobs to which you didn't need to have a degree. They become Amazon drivers. They go and work in Waitrose. They're in some kind of retail, which they were sold a dream which continues to be shown on the socials, i.e., oh, I'm an influencer, I'm a this, I'm a that. Give us a bloody break, will you? And some people will make money out of it, and they get a lot of publicity, others won't. What was your story when you left uni?
So I did, for my undergraduate, I did a degree in PPE.
Oh, did you?
And I finished with first class honours.
Okay, where did you go?
London South Bank University.
Okay, all right.
So not a very good university.
No, come on.
But I got a first class degree, and
Well done you, brother.
thank you. I already worked at Ladbrokes, so it was quite easy for me to move into a junior analyst role in 2022.
Yeah.
So I started working there then, but what I was doing was data analysis. That has all now been replaced by AI. All of that has gone. I went on to do my postgraduate degree because an undergraduate degree is not competitive enough. So I got my postgraduate in law, compliance and regulation. I finished with a distinction and I went travelling. So I left Ladbrokes and I came back travelling in April, and I've never, ever, ever struggled to get a job. I've been seriously looking for a job since March, and it's insane. And I've got 2 degrees with outstanding marks, and I'm struggling to get a job. My friends who are younger than me are struggling to get a job. My friends who are older than me are struggling to get a job. The only places really that are sort of hiring are places that can't be replaced by AI. And I do think as well, the meaning of a degree has totally been replaced. Say 20 years ago, I know that if I'd gone to university, one, I wouldn't have had to pay, or 30 years ago, sorry, I wouldn't have had to pay because fees were brought in with Blair to make it more competitive. But only the most competitive, academic-minded individuals could go to university. So if you walked into university, that was, oh, wow, very well done. Let's give you a degree. Let's give you a job, sorry. Because what's this? Brewing and distilling is an undergraduate degree offered right now at Heriot-Watt University. Why do you need a degree to learn brewing and distilling? Contemporary circus and physical theatre is offered at Bath Spa University.
No.
Why do you need a degree? Also, loans are taxpayer funded. Why is the taxpayer having to pick up the loan cost for students who are studying useless degrees? Business is another one that I don't think. Why do you need a business degree to run a business? Many successful businessmen and businesswomen that I know with their own business have never even had gone to university or had a degree. Why is it that we're encouraging everyone to go through the university system? Well, universities, they want people to go to university because they are remunerated for it.
Yeah.
But that's not linked to graduate outcomes. Universities don't care about graduate outcomes. That's why they're having these Mickey Mouse degrees. I think the Institute of Economic Affairs put it perfectly in To a Radical Degree in 2020, that there is no evidence that simply producing more graduates has improved economic performance or boosted the economy.
Right, I tell you what, that's a great piece there, Jesse. Pooch, we must put what Jesse said out, not as one of those 6 and 8 minute bloody clips, which don't work, by the way. And we should have a word. We should have a word with the people who do this for us and just say, forget those 8 minutes. Let's make 45 minutes, 2 minutes from now onwards, right? Because it's that kind of thing which will percolate downwards. Right. So I have an idea. Right, I have an idea. I come in as education secretary instead of that half-wit Phillipson who does so much damage, in my view. Right, and we should now say to universities, unless there are vacancies in the jobs which you are effectively selling, we are shutting down.
Yes.
We are shutting down those courses.
Yes.
We are letting these professors and academics go who couldn't get a job. you couldn't get a job pushing a broom outside Aldi's, most of them, right? And actually look down on people like me, you. Actually, they probably look down on you in a way that they wouldn't look down on me, because at least I'd have the television to have the camera to piss on them. If they, anyway, I'm sorry about that. Got carried away. So we withdraw that last one. But so, what's your solution? Okay, you are right in the firing line. Your friends are double degree. First distinction from a background where actually, even if you found work, you'd be considered a hero, okay? You still find it difficult.
I still find it difficult. What we need to do is, well, exactly what you said, scrap these university degrees, and we need to, but the thing is that employers also, with changes to employment law, it's harder to sack people.
Correct.
Employers will, these data analysis roles, like my first proper big girl job at Ladbrokes doing data analysis, that's probably gone now, taken up by AI, because AI never sleeps, AI never cries, AI is never late to work. You know, that whole job that I used to do, probably completely replaced by AI. So what we need to be doing is we need to be creating more jobs that aren't reliant on AI. But this is the thing, where do we do that? Well, we need to be encouraging STEM. We need to be teaching our kids how to code, encouraging them properly down the AI route.
Look, people tell me who know about these things, including a conversation I had yesterday, that actually you don't need coders anymore. Actually, AI can code it much better than you can. So here's the other issue that the young may not like to listen to, and I don't even sure whether I like to say it. There's two things they need to do: set out on their own, probably drop their price, which you can do if you set out on your own, because you can offer to do a job at beneath minimum wage if you're the boss. Okay. I know that sounds terrible, and then possibly work.
But that's how you build a reputation.
7 days a week.
Because, well, this is the thing. When I used to work at Ladbrokes in the bookies, not in my data job.
What, in the shop, you mean?
Yeah, in the shop. When I was a shop girl.
Which shop did you work in?
Oh, I worked all over. My favourite one was Ascot Corals. I loved that shop so much. But my first shop was Woking Ladbrokes. I loved that shop as well. But I used to work 7 days a week. You can sign out of the 40-hour time directive, which I did, and I was doing 60 hours a week every week because I was hungry for money, of course, and I was doing that full time alongside a degree. And
you were. Now here's a story. Here's a story that Burnham will not like. Young person flogging themselves to death and doing university at the same time. This is much more normal of the US system, where the fees are off the dial, even although they're pretty high here. So let's get this right. You're at uni working full time.
Yeah, 60 hours a week.
Okay. And you're at work.
Yeah, I was a shop manager at the very end.
Were you?
Yeah.
Working what, 6 days a week, 7 days a week?
6-7 days a week sometimes.
But making good money.
Well, I was making all right money.
Okay.
You know, I was making good tips, very good tips. Because
because when people won, did they give you a fiver?
Well, yeah, and also if you was talking to them throughout the day, you know, Ascot Coral was a great shop to work in.
Oh, I see. So this was the kind of middle class bookies. I like that. I go to Betfred's in Weybridge, right?
Oh yeah.
And there's a rather nice lady there who seems to do rather well out of me. So she doesn't get a tip because every time I go in there I lose money. I see. Well, that is fantastic. But if you said that to a lot of you said a lot of students that you're going to work 40 hours a week somewhere.
They don't want to do it because the thing is that, and I know I can be guilty of it sometimes because I say, well, I don't want to work at Sainsbury's. But to be honest, I'd probably be happy working back in the bookies because I know how to do that. Oh, I could do that asleep. And I love that job. But I think we need to sort of take away this, you know, disgust even of normal jobs. Because people look down on normal jobs. Oh, I don't want to do that. I've got a degree. Oh, it's an honest job, making a living for yourself. And actually, you're gaining a lot of life experience. I learned so much. From customers, just from talking to them, you know, just.
But that's in your nature, isn't it? I mean, you're a chatty person,
Yeah.
and therefore they start chatting to you. Whereas, you know, if I was taking the money, they say, "Well, I'm not talking to that bad-tempered old git." So there is a difference. I mean, it's the same with my wife. You know, when we go anywhere, within half an hour or within 30 minutes, or not half an hour, within about 30 seconds, she said, did you know that lady's just told me that she'd been married 7 times, she's got 4,000 kids, and she lives in Pudsey or something. You know, there are people who've got personalities that actually bring in the gossip from people's lives, which are quite interesting.
Well, I do think what could sort of help this employment crisis of young people is reducing the cost of employing people, because that's what they've done. They've increased the cost of employing people through national insurance. Why would I, as a businesswoman, want to employ someone if the cost of NI, etc., is going through the roof? I wouldn't. I would rather keep work costs down and just have one person instead of 3 people for that job, because it's becoming an expense that I don't think is necessary.
Well, what about the idea under this new employment law, which they said is going to be helpful, which anybody who knows about employing knows is going to be effing unhelpful, is from day one you get sickness pay.
Yeah.
Right? So you turn up. I tell you what, you don't even turn up. Oh, I'm sorry about this, especially because it's day one. But honestly, I'm not feeling too well because I've been on the sauce with my mates because of the football. But I will definitely be in by Thursday. Thanks very much.
Well, this is a risk of employing people now.
Yeah.
Why do we think that businesses don't want to hire people? Why do we think that businesses are turning to AI? Again, AI never sleeps.
Yeah.
AI never cries. AI never calls in sick after being on a sauce all night.
Yeah.
You know, this is the reason why, because there's too much of a risk employing people. It's absolutely outrageous. The government is not helping young people like me. The government is hurting people like me and stopping us from getting into work, and they're saying, oh wow, we're saving you with these Employment Act reforms. They're a load of nonsense. Cobblers, absolute cobblers. They are the ones hurting our generation. They are stopping our generation from going into business. They are stopping entrepreneurship. No one's got creativity or imagination now because we're trapped in this box. Oh, go to university, do this, do that. Well, it's not working out very well for us, is it? And it's not helping our economy boom. Sorry, I think I went off there.
No, that was good. We'll put that out. We'll put that out on TikTok, because actually the reason why that'll have to go out on TikTok is because it will be hitting the very people who are possibly sitting at home wondering what I can do. My advice for this is to think up ways of starting a little business which services somebody else, and do it at a price below minimum pay. Okay? Because actually you're the company. You're just going to actually price a job. You're not talking about building pensions into it and that kind of stuff into it. So it's an important aspect of life. That's why I can see that actually one of the effects of AI will be that many, many other companies turn up. Right, finally, Jesse, thank you very much for this, by the way. This has been spectacular. Actually, Jeff was spectacular. The only person I'm worried about is this old git that keeps on looking at me all day long. So you're Burnham.
Yeah. Oh no.
He is at the other end of the spectrum as far as you're concerned, right? He doesn't believe in any of this, by the way. If you said to him, the reality for us 25-year-olds or the reality for us 21-year-olds is we don't know we've got a future. We can't move out of our homes, and we're really challenged to find work. He's going to change the cabinet today, and that's the bit I'm enjoying. So all these experts who've been coming on various clapped out BBC shows, which is the reason why the BBC licence fee exists, because it's simply a mouth fee for Labour, right, are all going to get slung out, but they're going to sling in a whole load of other people. We're having this conversation in a year's time. Will we be doing better under this administration, the same or worse? No,
we will be worse.
Oh, right.
Under Burnham's leadership, we will be in a worse position. I doubt employment will suddenly increase, because most likely he's going to back all of these reforms that have happened to employment. He's going to back universities taking on more students, despite it being statistically proven on multiple occasions by various different think tanks that actually going to university isn't helping an economic boom and is in fact just giving universities more money and keeping their pockets full. He is going to support this because he thinks he's giving us an education. Well, I'm sorry, my parents would have left school at 15 or something, and that was fine enough for them. That was fine enough for most people. I don't think we need to have education up until 18. I don't think we need to have education up until 25. You should only go to university to that level if you are genuinely at that high level academic spectrum. Otherwise, it's a waste of time, it's a waste of money. £60,000 you're taking out, plus interest, which is through the roof. I think my interest is something up to like £91,000 now. I regret going to university. I regret it. I wish I never went, because I tell you what, I've learnt nothing. All of my writing skills I perfected during my A-levels. I got phenomenal scores in my A-levels. I never needed to go to university. I only got pushed to go to university because everyone goes to university and it's the right thing to do. And oh, you'll have fun because you'll be able to go boozing and socialise. That's not the correct reason to go to university. The correct reason is to educate yourself and to get a job. But you're not getting that outcome anymore. You're not getting that outcome. So in 1 year's time, I expect that this country will be on a further economic decline, with less jobs, even more, and with more students in university wondering, why the hell am I here?
Well, Jessie, well, thank you very much for that cheerful analysis of where we're all going to be. I will be 6 foot under, and Jessie will be Prime Minister at the end of that time. Jessie Kane, it's fantastic to chat with you. We are going to do this more regularly. And I think if UK Live can't find you a show, then I think GB News should be alerted to your talents. And either if I were Kevin Badenoch, I'd try and hire you, and if that didn't work, then if I were Nigel Farage, I'd try to do that. But don't go anywhere, because at the moment I'm thinking the best thing that could happen with this show is probably if we did a double act of some kind, because we're looking for some brains rather than just sort of either bald-headed old people. Okay, lovely. We've got the news coming up. And there's not much happening apart from a new Prime Minister who will be as bad as the last one, as Jessie points out. The one I'm looking forward to is Bridget Phillipson getting the elbow out of education. That would be a triumph. But the idea that Lisa Nandy is going to be promoted, and also the possibility of a bloke who can't even eat a bacon sandwich becoming Foreign Secretary seems a challenge, especially probably in the Middle East. And then we've got a fascinating kind of analysis about what's going to happen to the £153 million which we're sending to Pakistan, and yet they won't take from us one of the most revolting, in fact, the leading member of a grooming gang.
Good morning, I'm Edward Hughes. The Knob of the North is set to enter number 10 as the new Prime Minister, promising a fresh approach focused on cost of living help, regional regeneration, and breaking from Westminster traditions. He faces immediate challenges on defence spending, energy bills, immigration, and North Sea oil policy amid pressure from the US. In crime news, police have named and pictured suspect Joshua Kerry in the targeted murder of former politician Anne Widdecombe at her Devon home. Counter-terrorism officers are investigating possible motives. Economically, the UK has seen modest growth, though property prices are feeling the heat from the World Cup and weather. Other notes include cabinet speculation, calls for stronger defence, and international ripples from US actions in Iran, and those big baby Argies lost to Spain in the World Cup final. Gotcha. Laters, Tigers.
Some reason is actually, so we've got watches being sold here, we've got shirts being sold by Alistair. What we've decided to do is not hire people by their intellect, but by their dress sense. And you're going to see Alistair Hilton in a minute. He did very good work. Alistair did very good work by actually taking on some police officers who had, I mean, it was ludicrous of him to do it. And I'm not so sure that had it been me, that I would have been quite as aggressive or on the front foot. So he complains about the fact, legitimately, that the local council now want to move some chairs, which people have been sitting on outside pubs in Chiswick for 1,000 years. And he thinks that a local councillor may be behind this, starts getting involved in it. The next thing you know, he finds 2 police officers coming into a pub, asking him to step outside, and he gets cross-questioned about this. Now, the thing is that Alistair is not a shrinking violet. We don't allow shrinking violets on this show, as you will have seen with Jess's performance just now, really punchy. This is a 25-year-old, 26-year-old woman. It's astonishing. And if you knew her backstory, you'd say it was even more astonishing, right? She has got the full 9 yards, and I expect with a bit of help from UK Live, she'll become an enormously successful lady. So Alistair takes on the coppers, and the whole thing that they then put on the reverse cycle clips, and suddenly the whole thing disappears. But unless people like Alistair, and also people like the Free Speech Union, unless you stand up for yourself, you are in serious difficulty in this country. The idea that police officers can just wander into pubs and say, this isn't a criminal issue, but do you mind stepping outside? We just point out what we think the law is. And Alistair, to give him his, Jeff said, actually, it's not the law. This is not anything to do with it. And by the way, this isn't the last you're going to hear about it. So 2 decent coppers who get dragooned by their station sergeant, station inspector, some superintendent somewhere, right, suddenly come up with the reality against what it's like to be in the spotlight. I fear for everybody. But Alistair is back. This is by demand, actually. People want to see more of Alistair, and strangely, they want to see less of me, which is an uncomfortable area to be in at my time of life. And I do think it's slightly offensive, really. Alistair, good morning.
Good
Good
morning.
to see you, man. I see, shirt of the year.
I've dressed up for you again.
We've got a watch guy over here. He'll be on in a second. We've got a bloke here trying to flog shirts for a living over there.
Jeff selling flogging mugs.
Yes, and Jeff's trying to sell mugs. There is nobody. Actually, I'm in favour of it.
Yes.
Sell what you bloody like. I couldn't care less. On the BBC, you're not allowed to indicate that you're wearing this kind of watch or talk about the thing like that. Why not? People are more interested in Alistair's shirts than they are in his opinions.
It's good to hear.
Yeah,
it's good to hear.
So right. So tell me, Alistair, you are irritated, aren't you? You are
Most of the time.
You are
Most of the
and it's
time.
only alcohol that helps you, isn't it? It's only alcohol. Well, Mike Graham is a part of that show as well.
If it wasn't for alcohol and pubs, then life would be bad, wouldn't it?
It would not be interesting. It's an interesting thing, isn't it? That you can, at least you can go there and have a good time. I hang out with them sometimes, and I don't even drink. How about it? So
that's a very strange.
No, I know. That's why when I go and ask for a pint of iced water, which is what I do. Fortunately, my brother is from the Alistair Hilton Society, right? So I have to order 2 large Malbecs in order for me to get 1 pint of iced water. Otherwise, the pub is losing money, and I feel bad about it. And the thing about my brother is, once he's had a couple of those drinks, he becomes more interesting anyway.
Yeah.
So,
I like to think I do as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you need the drink actually. But okay, so. Where are we now with Pakistan? So we send them 153 million quid, yeah?
I think the thing with all these figures that we're sending money abroad is that these numbers don't really mean anything unless you break them down. So 153 million, I mean, what does that actually mean? So, you know, what I sort of broke it down the other day on a post I did on X was the average basic rate taxpayer pays £2,700 a year. That's what they pay. 153 million means that nearly 60,000 people are working all year only to give it to Pakistan. Yeah. And it doesn't even go to the Pakistan people, it goes to the government. It never trickles down. Yeah. You know, go to Pakistan, have a look at Pakistan. The people aren't rolling in money, the politicians are. So, you know, you've got 60,000 people working all year just for that. And then you can then look at the other countries that we give money to every year. We're giving, in the last 12 months, we've given £13 billion. Work that out, £2,700 for each taxpayer, basic rate taxpayer. That means that 8 million people in this country are working all year, not for roads, not for schools, not for hospitals, for foreign aid to countries, Yemen, Bangladesh, Pakistan, India, China, the list goes on, Sudan. These are basket case countries. If the aid worked, because we've been giving this for years and years and years, if the aid worked, these countries would have improved by now. But the countries don't improve, the politicians get richer, and the British people are literally 8 million. Andy Burnham is just Prime Minister for 3 seconds, and he's announced that he wants to up the aid that we give. At the moment it's 0.2% of GDP. He wants to put it to 0.7%.
Back to 0.7.
Yeah, well, but you know, so at the moment, there's 30 million basic rate taxpayers in Britain. 8 million are paying for foreign aid, only for foreign aid. So 1 in 4 people that you see working in a restaurant or a cafe or sweeping the streets or whatever, 1 in 4 of those people's money has gone out of the country. It's zero benefit to UK.
Do you know what? That is a much better way, of understanding huge numbers, because I totally accept that a large number is not able to for ordinary people. Actually, not for ordinary people. Actually,
for anybody, the
number is so large.
anything.
The number is so large you can't compute it. In fact, that's associated with governments. Oh, that's fine. Okay, so in turn, we think we've got leverage, don't we? We think at 157 million, if I'm giving you, Alistair, right? And you look.
You would have leverage if you gave me 153 million.
Well, certainly, I'd offer to throw in a couple of new shirts as well. Okay, so I say I've got 157 million. I'm going to give it to you. However, what we'd like to do is to throw out of our country somebody who has carried out a literally atrocious form of sexual assault on our people. And they say what? They say, actually, because that person actually gave up their passport for our country, and because actually legitimately that we have developed the pedo in him. This was their argument, right? What they didn't mention was that actually a load of other Pakistanis were involved as well. We're not going to take them back. Instead of saying, well, you can do what you like, you can't have the 157 million without taking this fellow back. We then don't say that, do we? We never use leverage. Money is the only language most people in this world understand.
Any normal person, any business person, for any business deal you'd ever do, would go, if I give you this money, you're going to do this for me.
Yeah.
And it's so basic that any deal, I give you this, you give me that.
Yeah.
There you go. But our government has gone, we'll give you that. Thanks. There you go. That's it. You won't even take back one, and there's lots of them, but one person, and they say, well, we don't want him. He's a terrible person.
Yeah.
But all right. Here's your 153 million then.
Well, not only that, we have one other leverage which really would please the country, I think, which is to simply say, look, mate, we won't give you visas for anybody to come in, rich, poor, skin, whatever. People aren't coming to this country because they think they're going to be worse off than where they are. They're coming over here because actually they think they're going to have a better life. And even if they don't have a better life, they're going to have a subsidised life, which they don't get in Pakistan.
The problem is, you can't even blame the people who come here.
Yeah.
You can only blame our government for allowing it.
Yeah.
And the government say, oh, well, there's this. You don't need to give everybody that arrives a free house. You don't need to give them free money for life. You don't need to do that. What are they going to do? They come, you give them everything, so of course more come, and more come, and more come, and they will carry on. If you stopped the money, you'd stop the people instantly.
There's a fantastic piece hidden away in a rather crappy column in the Times. The trick about columns is try and ignore the first 6 or 8 paragraphs. Having written a column, and actually being fired, by the way, fired for writing a column. Right? They hated my columns. The old son. You know, every time I wrote anything, the roof would fall in, and then somebody like Sainsbury's would say, we can't advertise because of this disgusting column. Anyway, if you go down into it, It's a column written by a lady called Jenny Russell, who's basically a socialist fellow traveller, right? Dresses herself up as a member of the middle classes, and therefore writes a column, and therefore the Times, therefore the Times runs it. Right. So what about this? At the end of 2024, a High Court judge stretched the definition of those with a right to Britain's resources even further. The government was running a resettlement programme to bring Afghans who had worked for Britain to safety here, along with their families after the Taliban takeover. Listen to this. The programme was restricted to spouses and dependent children. Yeah, you could make an argument for that, absolutely. But in a case brought by an Afghan migrant, challenged those restrictions. Mrs. Justice Yip, I'd love to know what her background ruled, there is no requirement for blood or legal connection. Family, she decreed, is a term that does not have any fixed meaning in law or in common usage, may mean different things to different people and in different contexts. Here's the rub on this, right? That was the legal analysis of it. Listen to this. The judgment blew a hole in the UK's ability to limit admission. One man brought 22 people with him. Government sources reported the average was 8. Some houses in military bases had to be knocked together to house newcomers. In total, almost 38,000 people were resettled here by the end of 25. Massively more than had been anticipated.
Exactly. What you've got is you've got England, Britain, the UK. This has developed, society has developed over hundreds, thousands of years. So we're where we are after many, many years of evolution and development, and the villages and the towns. And you've got villages that have 800 people in them. And suddenly the government put 3,000 people in. Totally blown apart. You can't then get that village back. That's gone. And that's happening here and there and wherever. So all this thing that has developed, the whole of society has developed in England and Britain. And suddenly, bang, is gone. 35,000 people again. People don't realise what 35,000 people a year. This is only the dingy people is 35,000. Yeah. The numbers that are coming in on planes.
The legitimate ones. It's 38,000 come from just Afghanistan connected with anything we were doing in Afghanistan.
You can't absorb these people. Yeah. And these are people that aren't coming. Over the years, people go, well, we need migration. Yes, we do need people who work. Yes, we do need people. What we don't need are tens and hundreds of thousands of people who come, no jobs.
Okay, question then, Alistair. It's easy to talk about this. You've got a left-wing Prime Minister who doesn't believe in any of this, by the way. If he was sitting here right now, he'd be nodding along, but actually would say the complete opposite. What's going to happen? Is he going to suddenly say, actually, I agree with Alistair?
No, he's not going to say that.
Okay, so he doesn't say that. He says, let's just carry on. Yeah? So they'll put somebody into the Home Office replacing Mahmood. Okay? Mahmood got a slight nod from the rest of us because we felt that she was going to do something. As it was quite cleverly done. And in the end of the day, it looks to me as though that's going to disappear into the long grass. So this show continues. Alistair continues having his views, right? Nigel Farage has his views. He doesn't get elected. What happens?
I think they just carry on and carry on and carry on because it's not them that it's affecting. You know, Andy Burnham and everybody in government, and look at the size of the civil service, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. It doesn't affect those people. Those people are all getting their money. They've all got their security around them. They've all got protection around them. So their life can carry on. It makes no difference. You've got Keir Starmer, who's just left, going, I've left Britain a better place. They're on another planet, these people. They don't live. Go down the pub. Listen to what actual people say. And if you can find one person in any pub in Britain that goes, oh, he made Britain a better place, I'd be shocked. I would be shocked.
That is a very good point. So he was saying this in order that his legacy, politicians constantly trying to fashion the kind of dynamic of the conversation down the pub or anywhere. Actually, they're really aiming at places like the Times or the Mail or something like that. They actually don't really care about us. But this is another problem. So I looked at the polling the other day, and polling is, is neither here nor there, because in the run up to the election, that's the only thing that matters. But the way things are standing at the moment, Reform, despite all the criticism and all the rest of it, still representing a quarter of the country, which is a good effort. But Labour has had some kind of bounce, a 5% bounce, because Burnham turns up. But what on earth in our kind of economy can a Burnham do? I find it impossible. What are they going to say or do which is going to transform anybody's life?
But I think
are we going to be in a better... Right, same conversation, coming up to the general election, will Burnham be saying, I've got you in a better place?
But the thing that gets me every time is politicians never listen to what comes out their mouth. Look at what they actually do. So every election since the dawn of time, a politician says you get a free puppy and a few nice kittens if you vote for us. You vote for them and they go, forget about the puppy and the kittens, give us some more money.
Yeah.
And 4 years later, they say the same thing and people go, oh, but he said he's different this time. Guess what? It's the same. So it's unbelievable that people keep listening to the words. Burnham can go blah, 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 like any politician. Look at what they actually do. Look at what Starmer's done. Look at what the last Prime Minister and the one, there's been 7 or 8 in the last year.
Yeah.
So look at what they've actually done. And the answer is they've done absolutely nothing to make people's lives, normal people's lives, better in Britain. They've done absolutely everything to make their lives worse. I go down to a shop and something I buy yesterday that was £1 is £1.30 today. And next month it's £2 and the next month it's £3. And you can't carry on like that.
Correct, Alistair. Right, you're Prime Minister, okay? In a surprise announcement, Prime Minister number 8, Alistair Hilton, said, I intend to his slogan was, I intend to put the country into a worse place, right? And on that basis, everybody then believed him, right? So I'm going to make immigration my major issue. I'm going to solve the problem, okay? So we need to...
I can solve that in one day.
Go on.
One day.
Go on.
Every dinghy that arrives here, you take them, they're supposedly fleeing persecution. Fine, all right. I don't necessarily believe that is the case with a lot of them, but let's say they are. So we'll give them a safe place. We'll give them a field somewhere in Britain, guarded so they can't get out the field. They'll have a tent, they'll have cooking facilities, they'll be completely safe. Nobody will be able to persecute them, but they won't get any money. They'll just have to sit in this field and be safe in this field. And do you know what? After a month of everybody arriving and being put in a field and given water and food,
big field, wasn't it?
We've got lots of big fields in this country, lots of big fields, and put them there, safe, so you can't criticise them for being persecuted anymore. They've got food, they've got water, and do you know what? Within a month, those dinghies would stop. Done, finished. Everybody that arrives here, if you've got a job, great. If you can support yourself, great. Fantastic. Come here, work, make the country better. If you come here and haven't got a job, you go to that field as well until you find a job. Sorted.
Right, Alistair, I thank you very much for coming in with that one. And as the owner of a very large field in Kent, I am looking forward to your policy. Alistair Hilton, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you.
And once again, if you've come here to listen to the liberal view of life, you've actually come to the wrong channel, I must be honest. Good to see you. Right, now we've got coming up now somebody who is not going to suggest either A, shutting down universities, B, buying up large fields in the UK, or C, the Mike Graham effect. We've got we've got a super chat. I'm astonished about that. Perhaps it's towards buying that field. Super chat, 10 quid from Simon Guildford. Well, thanks very much, Simon. I could do with a tenner. And there's another one here. This is from 6-month job hunt, 4 interviews, no job. Now, I feel very sorry for that. I refuse to accept the 2 quid. We're not taking that £2 because that's not right. If she's not in work, we can't have that. So thank you very much indeed, anyway, for that. Alistair, he's. I somehow feel that the big field approach to politics is not going to work. Perhaps what we should do is do something else. You know that Parliament needs to spend about 20 odd billion pounds. Perhaps we should find a big field and put the politicians in it. How about that, with a guard and not allow them out? Anyway, that's another idea. Now, Jonathan came on the show, I think, a couple of weeks back.
Yep, a couple of weeks back.
And by the way, he smartened up a bit. The last time you were here, Jonathan, I did think the business wasn't going too well. It looked as...
I was told to come in a corporate T-shirt as part of Armed Forces Week, but I reflected in the mirror. I actually feel more comfortable like this. Someone once said to me, if you're going to go somewhere, turn up like you mean business.
Yeah, no, Jonathan. Now, Jonathan runs a watch business.
That's right.
You create your own watches.
My wife and I, that's right.
And I think you had it was rather a good effect.
We had a wonderful response, and I think it reflects exactly what you've been talking about in the show.
Yeah.
Which is people want to help people. They want to buy from people. And I think, thankfully, to this channel, hearing our story, hearing how we do things, the fact that they email in and I reply, you know, I mean, I always say I'm customer services, sales, packing and everything.
Oh, that is funny, that.
Yeah.
Hello.
I mean, there isn't anywhere else to run.
Hello, customer services, you want to be put through to packaging. Okay, hang on 1 second. Yeah, hello, packing, can I help you? Yeah, no, I love that idea. I love that idea.
So we had a wonderful response, and I think not only did we do good business, which is important, but we had a lot of people who were genuinely interested in what we were trying to do.
Whereabouts is business based?
We're based in Elstree, just by the studios.
Okay,
which
fine.
you'll probably know.
Yeah. No, well, occasionally me and Brad Pitt go down there, and we like to do a bit of showboating. So tell me, your business took a bit of a tick up.
We did, yeah.
Okay. Do you want to just show
Absolutely.
the viewers?
Well, we've sold out of one colour now because we make very limited editions. So we sold out now because we only make 79.
What was the colour?
Yellow has gone.
The yellow is gone. And is that because people want the strap as much as the watch?
I think people like to have a pop of colour. In other words, they want people to have a conversation starter. What's that you're wearing?
Alistair, when talking to Alistair, I didn't get the feeling he wanted any colour. But anyway, I'll put that to one side. I'm sorry about that.
Let me just lift this up.
Right,
so hopefully, here we go.
It's right in front of you, Jonathan.
Right.
No,
Here.
to your right.
To our right. Oh, there we go.
Oh, that's better. Yeah.
There we go. So we've done.
Push forward with it.
There we go. Yeah.
But it will focus. It's focused on your face. Lift it up a bit.
Oh, that's it. No, that is a perfect shot of you. Now, Jonathan, he's at his most attractive like that.
Well, my wife would definitely agree.
Dolly up there.
Yeah, fine. That's it. Now, this is what we call technology here. Now, in some channels, that we'll be zooming in now on it, right? But under the
You hold it and I'll zoom in.
and under the pooch approach, what's going on here is he's coming in. He's coming in. It's coming home. It's coming home.
There you go. Push.
The watch is. Hey, I've got an idea. Soccer watch.
There you go.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah, got it.
Right, fine. Can I ask you something offensive?
Just not offensive.
How much did it cost, that watch?
This watch is £399.
Okay.
Including VAT.
Including packaging?
Including packaging.
Hello,
yes.
packaging. Can I help you?
Yes, and including Royal Mail. I don't do that bit.
You don't do the Royal Mail bit?
No, I can't do the posting and delivering to the doors. But we do use Royal Mail because why shouldn't we?
Yeah. No. I'm in favour. Are they cheaper than going to Amazon or anything? Or
well, you can't buy them from anywhere else apart from me.
Oh right, you don't. So we either come to Jonathan.
You either come to my website, which is heliconwatches.com.
Right. Say it slowly.
Right.
Have a look on screen, Kelvin.
It says, I bought one of Jonathan's beautiful mustard yellow watches after seeing him on your show. I'm very pleased with it. That was, let's have a look, Mrs. Jonathan Bordell. No.
Tag 164.
Yeah, thank you, Jonathan.
Well, there you go. So thank you very much for that customer. No, we don't have the margins. I assemble all these in the UK, so I make them. I think I mentioned before, the boxes are all made in the UK.
Okay, let's get
so
this
we do
right.
As much as we can.
I want to become, there is a big company, I think it's listed, Watches of Switzerland.
Yep,
right?
yep.
Okay. I want to start one called Watches of Weybridge, where I live.
Okay.
Right, okay.
Yep.
Okay. So what do I need? First of all, okay, I won't ask what your margins are, because otherwise everybody because the costs of running a business are nothing to do with just the basics of it, right?
Absolutely.
Which is the pain of life, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What would I need to find? I need to find somebody who can make a watch, first of all. Watches of wages. You want to write this down? This is one of the great commercial ideas of all time.
50-50, Kelvin. We'll go 50-50.
Okay, we've gone 50-50, which normally mean when you do 50-50 with Pooch, when it comes down to it, actually he gets the money and I get 50% of the insults.
He's got some great ways to invest your money.
Yeah, that's right. He's doing fine. He's doing fine. When I invested in his company, the first thing he did was buy a huge house in France. I had to sell a huge house in the UK in order to afford the investment. Right. What do I need to make a watch? A great watch.
Okay. So this is where it starts. You can of course go to someone to make you a watch.
Oh, right.
It's not the way that I do
you?
it. Yeah, of course you can find people who make watches. A lot of the big brands are not necessarily made by them.
Rolex are they?
Rolex are, yeah, but there's other brands where there's other companies making for it. As many fashion.
Like a rebranding.
Yeah,
rebranding.
white label they call it.
Yeah, white label.
So they say, I want an X, and you go and order X. We do it slightly differently because I've been working in this industry a long time. So I have one person who makes my cases, one person who makes my dials. I buy the movements directly from Japan. So I've got a person there called Hiro I deal with directly. Right. So I'm essentially trying to pick, like a chef, the best sources of supply. And then what I want to do is control the quality, because the worst thing as an independent business is if I send something and it goes wrong, well, I essentially lost all my money. That's the reality. By the time I've got the watch back and we've repaired it, I've got no profit left. Right. So I have to make sure that what I send out the door is 100% of what I need.
Okay, fine. Look, next time you come on, right, I totally buy that you're here to sell your watches.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy that you can sell them and sell the hell out. I want you, if it's possible, to bring on some other watches from somebody else, right, as Watches of Weybridge, okay, and our new joint venture, Jonathan, right, and show what those costs are and whether you think those watches are value.
Right.
Either why they are or why they're not, right?
Okay.
Or why one at, say, 2,000 quid is actually poor value and one at 595 is not bad value. I'm not saying we shouldn't carry on flogging your watches.
Yeah.
I just want to extend the watch area.
I think that's fine, and we can have a good discussion about that, and we can break it down. Yeah. I think I need to be very careful because I'm sure these people have got very aggressive lawyers.
Oh no, I'm not worried about.
But I think it's always like my wife and I had a significant anniversary recently. Went out for a very nice meal in London.
Oh, did you? Where did you go?
We went to Jason Atherton. Have you been there?
No. Where is it?
He's on Savile Row.
I know Savile Row. I bought a suit from there for Richard James.
So he's just moved there. It was a very nice lunch. He was there. He's always there.
What's his name?
Jason Atherton.
Right.
That Michelin-starred restaurant. And everyone said to me, how much is that? And I said, well, it's not cheap.
Yeah.
However, we were welcomed by him. We were treated like royalty.
Really?
So what I'm saying is, Savile Row, nice ingredients, excellent staff. Excellent staff. I mean, you had that guest on before who I thought was tremendous. And I think we need to invest in these people. Yeah. But you felt you knew where your money was going. Yeah. Whereas I think with other big brands, you're paying for marketing, you're paying for brand ambassadors and all of that.
No, look, I totally agree. I object sometimes to the price of my meals unless it was a good meal. If I come away thinking I have just paid, so I suspect you and the missus celebrate a big thing together, or whatever, significant anniversary or something. You could spend, I don't drink, but neither does my wife actually. So our bill is quite low. But if you have half a bottle of wine or something like that over it, you're going to be through 200 quid without turning round.
But you can equally go to a chain and buy 2 meals and a couple of soft drinks and get average stuff, and you're in for £100 now. Easily. Yeah,
that's true.
And that's my question is, okay, but I know that person. I know we had a long chat about the business and running the business, staffing problems and cost of food, all the same chats we all have. And it's a pleasure for me to work with those people. And I complimented each and every one of them. Yeah. One of the chefs who came over, and I said, because you could see them working, you work so precisely, it's like a watchmaker. Yeah. I said, it's a pleasure to watch you work. So my attitude is, we've got a significant anniversary. We don't do this very often at all, right? But I want to know that my money's being well spent. And I think if it's someone there with it's British produce, it's lots of staff, that lovely location. I mean, I don't want Savile Row to turn into chains as well.
No.
To be independent.
I mean, one of the interesting about, clearly you're dressed in Savile Row, I can see that. The one thing I liked about Savile Row is actually looking at the fantastic stuff in the window. I mean, stuff that you'd never think, but the clever bit is they don't actually put the price on there. So I would have thought that for quite a few of the suits, you probably have to flog probably about 20 of your watches in order to be able to afford.
I actually, you want to reality? I do have a friend who's a tailor, Timothy Everest in grey flannel. Tim was in the East End because he couldn't afford Savile Row. Savile Row was money, but he's now done lots of movies. He actually did dress the British football team in the 90s. Oh yes, in the 90s, yeah, which was with Marks and Spencer's, I think. So he designed all of that.
Is that right?
Oh yeah, he did the Mission Impossible films. He did Alien, one of the Alien films. Yeah. So but he has his place in Marylebone, and you're quite right. I think the last suit I got from Tim was about 8 or 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But we're friends now.
Yeah.
It's more than a suit. We're friends.
Yeah.
And I think the first.
What's this guy's name?
Timothy Everest of grey flannel.
Right, we'll get Timothy Everest on, and we'll get him to. I love talking about people actually running not very big businesses, but actually totally committed to their business.
And as I said, it's an investment. You go in there, you talk. Yeah, it's a considerable investment. But if my oldest suit there is 2000, my oldest jacket, 2008, and still going strong, then it's done its value for me, hasn't it? I mean, I've got good value, but I've had a friendship. I've met lots of people.
In a funny way, when talking to you, you are basically like Jessie, who a young lady who come on here talks about politics and stuff like that. Enormously clever, by the way. First in this, first in that, first in the other thing. The only thing I got first in was first member of my family to be thrown out of school.
And I left school at 16. So.
Right. The same. Yeah, but I left involuntarily. Right. I was required to leave.
I went to the careers evening, and they said, this is what they said to me at the sixth form. They said, we think you should look elsewhere. That was it. That was it.
They said that to my parents. I had no idea. And they come back home and said, we've just had a rather uncomfortable evening. Oh, really? Well, I find that hard to believe. Yes, so we definitely get that guy Timothy and get him to talk about how you make a suit, how you make your money, and how. Right, I was told because I bought a suit for my big party coming up in September, and I said, "How's business?" And they said it's tough. They said that the top end people are simply not spending this year, and I found I felt sorry for them because they're pretty good stuff. So your business doing well?
Yep.
Thanks
we're very
much.
happy.
So, but you had an aspect, didn't you, to your business where you were connected with the military.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And so we do a lot of private commissions, which we don't talk about publicly. Yeah. Where a unit or a group of individuals will come to us and say, we want to make a watch, which we're happy to do. Yeah. We don't talk about it publicly. Yeah. The big thing, and I had this meeting at someone at the weekend where they said, we've gone to the big Swiss brands and they want £2,500, £4,000 for a watch. And we simply can't afford it. Yeah. So we often speak to the military and like this, we say, well, we can probably make you a watch for £399, including VAT. Yeah. We've done some customization for you, as long as they're reasonable with what they want.
Okay, can I ask you about customization? Yeah. It's 3 para, right? We want to celebrate conquering the Falklands.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
So I bump into a guy, and the reason I know this, I bump into a guy, I'm moving house.
Yeah.
And I take a load of stuff down to the dump. So I am a kind of member of the Dumper Old Boys Association. Right? So the guy who was there, that was talking to me, he said his brother had been in the Falklands with 3 para. And they have a T-shirt which says, Argentina, this is on the back of it, we kicked your ass. Okay. He goes into a pub in Walton-on-Thames on the night, and security see the T-shirt and they kick him out. Right. Yeah, no, they kick him out. He had to go home, change the T-shirt to come back again. Anyway, so I suspect there's quite a lot of work to be had out there,
and it's
through the military.
Yeah,
alone.
Absolutely, and we're quite nicely busy with that. And there are some people who want some things we can't do, and other things like the last person we did something for. Yeah. They had, let's say, their unit emblem was something that may be seen as not politically correct in this day, but it was their emblem. And what we did was we shadow printed it on the dial, so you couldn't see it. Yeah. You could only see it if you shone a UV light on it. So the dial just looked plain, because they didn't want to have any conversations about any of that sort of stuff. On the back, they had their badge numbers. In other words, their
who they are,
which were all done individually. And then we did. I'll show you off air, right? But we did something on the back of the watch which resembled one of the important places in their history, which they were blown away with, and we actually had it hand engraved like a coin, right? And they were blown away with that. So that's the sort of thing we could do. In fact, they were worried about if they could sell them. We were oversubscribed, but the people in the unit said, do you know what? We said to people it was available, let's keep it limited and we might do something again in the future. So that's what we do. So yeah, and I love all that work, and we're trying to get more of it done in the UK. So hopefully we're going to be able to etch the case backs in Rochester, in Kent. I've got a friend who's literally about 2 miles down the road from here, from the studios, who's going to print on the dials. The more I can do here, and we can be really flexible.
Right, so here we are. I am not on commission. I'm going to have a word with Jonathan off air about whether there's any opportunity of having a version of a super chat, if you get my drift. So here's the answer. You're in the military. You work for a company, right? You're leaving, right? And you've got special, you'd like some aspect of being in a way almost like a headstone, which represented 30 years of employment, because that's one of the things that doesn't happen today. No. Yeah, if you last half an hour, you're likely to get. I sometimes think at the end of this show I should get some kind of memorable watch. But so you're in the military. I think the military is a great example. It doesn't matter which branch of the military you're in. You will form friendships which will last a lifetime. By the way, that's also true. Another example would be police colleagues.
Yep.
Police colleagues, I know. So a friend of mine, a former police officer, literally, they meet once a year, a group of them, and they walk up and down the road next to the beach at Worthing. It takes them about 3 or 4 hours, and they simply talk about the old days, really, right? That kind of groupage would do very well with Jonathan's watches, because he can individually give them a personality, which you won't get at Watches of Switzerland. And also, you won't be welcome at Watches of Weybridge either, which is a subsidiary of Going Bust International, which is something. And word just in from Westminster. Obama has just announced a proposed tax on all watches and general chronograph. Yeah. Now that is funny. As her parting shot, she never liked you, Jonathan, did she?
Lousy timing.
Yeah, yeah. Now that is very good. That is excellent stuff. That be very a tax on watches. No, so I'm being serious here. Right.
One more. Sorry.
I bought the RAF Blue watch for my son-in-law's 60th. I couldn't wait till then, so he had it now, and he's delighted. Lots of mother-in-law points. Oh, well, that's
maximum.
That's nice. So,
and
I would think any kind of thing where there is a uniform attached to it, where you get a collective view of you against the world.
There's a part on our website. If you go to our website, there's a part you can fill in for any applications, and then and the other thing about confidentiality, it's only going to be myself and Daniel dealing with it. It's my wife. That's it. So again, a lot of these things are under the radar. We also don't want to have some sort of commercial agreement. So in other words, we're doing it for them, not to say, aren't we fantastic?
Yeah.
And I think you're right. Everyone remembers their first watch, and it's still something of great meaning, and we've lost it. But then, of course, as I said, if you go to the average serving person, officer or rank and file anyway, and you say the watch is $2.5, $4 grand, they're going to say, I'm never going to get away with that.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. Jonathan, very nice to see you again.
Pleasure.
But remember, my view is slightly wider than just, I love the military. If I see somebody wearing camouflage walking across the concourse at Waterloo, my heart kind of beats a little faster, right? And I've said this before, when you're in the US and you're waiting for a plane, they announce, first of all, people on babies and disabled come forward, but actually then they say, the military, right? And then what they say, which you never, ever hear in our country, they say, we're grateful for what you do. Yeah. Now, honestly, it almost brings a tear to my eye. Absolutely. We never have the view that there are people out there who actually, they don't know whether they're coming home that day.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know how pushed for time you are, but I just want to add a little bit. You've worked in London a while. Do you remember HMS President that was moored on the Thames?
Yeah, I do,
right?
yeah.
This weekend, it was taken for scrapping. Our last 1918 Q ship, right? Gone for scrapping, right? No money to preserve it. Now that could have been preserved, put somewhere in the country, driven tourism now. That's part of our heritage gone. And I think next month I'm bringing back something that's significant to our naval heritage. It's a new launch for us. I'd love to come on and talk about it.
Yeah, no, you're welcome.
But I think we must honour and cherish these people who've done so much for us.
Yeah, no, it's very nice. Right. So two things. I hope that today's show, I love the idea of it helping any business. I love the idea that anybody is doing slightly better from coming on this show, right? It fills me. The only person that's not doing very well is me, because actually by the time I throw in my railway and park the car and also buy a coffee, I'm actually minus at 12 quid for coming in. Now, perhaps, Jonathan, you should take over my finances. You seem like an engaging sales guy. So bring in some other watches on top of yours, but we'll carry on selling.
Lovely. Thank you very much.
Matey.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, Phil.
One more client here.
Okay, one more. Did Kelvin put his tie on with his feet? Now, look, I am not the only person now, hold on 1 second. I'm not the only person to have got this wrong either, because this has probably been aggravating the living daylights out of everybody. I can't get it right. I'll tell you what, we're going to go to the news, and we're making one more effort to try and put this right. And failing this, we're going to ask Jonathan to go into the tie business. Right, I can't get it right. I don't know what's up with me. Yeah, you're quite right. Thanks very much. Okay.
Morning, I'm Edward Hughes. The Knob of the North is set to enter number 10 as the new Prime Minister, promising a fresh approach focused on cost of living help, regional regeneration, and breaking from Westminster traditions. He faces immediate challenges on defence spending, energy bills, immigration, and North Sea oil policy amid pressure from the US. In crime news, police have named and pictured suspect Joshua Kerry in the targeted murder of former politician Anne Widdecombe at her Devon home. Counter-terrorism officers are investigating possible motives. Economically, the UK has seen modest growth, though property prices are feeling the heat from the World Cup and weather. Other notes include cabinet speculation, calls for stronger defence, and international ripples from US actions in Iran, and those big baby Argies lost to Spain in the World Cup final. Gotcha. Laters, Tigers.
Yeah, look, I had a go at putting it around in the traditional way. That didn't work. This led to a lot of complaints from the viewers. So I've decided to adopt a more kind of inclusive way of wearing a tie. I'm only wearing a tie because I was told it made you look more important. Let me put it this way. Burnham has announced that he's going to constantly wear T-shirts now, and he's not going to wear a tie at all. And so that's going to look good at the cenotaph, isn't it? Huh?
Yeah, it's Rambo.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. No, it's a good look, though, isn't it? I mean, it's not. This is not a joke. This is going to be the new way. Look, if we got a prime minister who's refusing to wear a tie, I am going to continue to wear a tie, but I'm going to wear it in a manner in which we have humour. Anyway, certainly for the next 15 minutes. So this, by the way, is Pooch's significant creative investment into the company, right? This is it. And he gets good money for doing this stuff, by the way, whereas I lose good money. Okay, coming up now is actually somebody rather more important than me. Is Leo around? Yeah, Leo.
Yeah, I'm here. How you doing?
I'm going downhill. Honestly, I'm bumping along the bottom. You look as though you've had a haircut, have you?
No, I'm gonna get a haircut this afternoon. Like my hair is quite long and a little bit shaggy, so I'm gonna go to a barber's.
Okay, I need your view on how you see this great the sunlit uplands that are heading towards us with Mr. Burnham or taking over. Is there something that fills you with joy now that we've got you? Look, honestly, you have been piddling from the top of the pyramids on Starmer for the entire 2 years, yeah? So he's come and gone. You've done that. Are you now pleased that Mr. Burnham, or Crash and Burnham as he's now known, I just thought I nicked that from somewhere. But so do you think he's going to be a great success?
No, I don't think it's going to be a great success at all. I mean, if you look at what he's planning, what he's openly saying he's going to do, is he's going to make Starmer look like Thatcher. He wants to raise taxes, and the problem with the UK is taxes are already at an all-time high. I mean, if we put them up any further, there's going to be no economic activity, no economic growth whatsoever. And he's going to splurge more on welfare, which is just bribing people to sit in their bums and do nothing, which is the opposite of what what we need right now. We need to become a more vibrant nation, like America. America's got an incredible economy because it doesn't pay people to sit on their bums, and he's also going to open the floodgates for mass immigration, bribe people to come here, basically importing voters. People think that welfare is some sort of generous thing. It's not generosity. It's governments buying votes. They will pay a sort of a lazy clientele to sit on their bums doing nothing in return for money, and those people know that if they want the money to keep flowing, they've got to go and vote for the Andy Burnham party. So they'll go and do that. I mean, it's so fraudulent. But also, what he's doing that kind of worries me is he's appointing senior hope not hate figures as in key roles, which means that all people on the right, all commentators, all politicians are going to have this, effectively a Stasi coming after them and trying to smear them, dig up dirt, any dirty tricks that they can do, and that's going to be ramped up because these people are now embedded at the highest level in government.
Yes, I mean, I found that extraordinary. So I tell you what, I'm going to have to take this off because obviously I'm a serious commentator. You know that, Leo. Anyway, so if you take the hope not hate aspect, do you think there's any chance that Leveson 2 might? I know this is slightly arcane, probably as far as some of the viewers are concerned, but Leveson 2 was an enormously dangerous document. Who I see that Leveson was just promoted for the second time, so he's now Lord Leveson. So he's thick in the establishment. He's also, I think, a Scouser, isn't he?
Yeah. We're being run by the Northwest. And this sort of control of the media is so dangerous. I mean, if we look at societies that are successful, they tend to be open and have a democratization of information, which happened in Britain with the invention of the printing press and has continued to expand ever since. And this means you've got independent media who can scrutinize government and scrutinize our institutions and criticize them where it's necessary and guide them in the right direction, provide feedback. But if the institutions and the government then control the media, and the media can be bashed and beaten and made to do what it wants, which is what Labour are bringing through. Like Starmer has an open policy of controlling YouTube's algorithms and controlling social media algorithms to promote state propaganda, to promote the BBC and legacy media that's aligned with the left. So, I mean, this is hugely dangerous. If we're gonna have, the only source of information we're allowed is Pravda, the Soviet Union's newspaper, then we're not a free democracy anymore. We're essentially a sort of communist state where any independent media can be either smothered through tweaking the algorithm so nobody sees it, or can be attacked with lawfare, as we're seeing with Leveson.
I do buy that. I think there is something strangely communist leaning about the Burnham approach. He's been sitting there, he says, for 40 years, wanting to row back on neoliberalism. Well, that is a very peculiar story, considering we had 13 years of Blair and Brown, apart from the last couple of years in which we lurched further left. And he says that's not left enough. The reason the country doesn't work is because of Thatcher. I mean, I saw an interview he gave to the Times today in which he said, I'm not going to say anything nasty about Farage or Kemi Badenoch because I don't think it's useful to be, disobliging about politicians. And yet he blames the entire issues that we have today on somebody who's been dead for the thick end of 30 years. I think the guy makes it up as he goes along, and at that, he will fall flat on his face. You have to believe in something. You must believe in something.
Absolutely. And to go back and blame Thatcher, I mean, he's going back, 40 years, more than 40 years to try and pin, the country's downfall. And to try and pin it on Thatcher, who actually brought, privatised our industries and brought the free market into Britain and, dealt with the strikers. People don't remember, like during the 70s, we lost millions and millions of days, working days to strikes, to industrial action, and rubbish piled up in the streets, and public services were terrible, and the trains were terrible. Nationalisation isn't the solution. And for him to go back 40 years to try and blame, the last genuinely conservative administration, I mean, why not go back to the Norman Conquest? Why not go back to the breaking apart of Pangaea? You know what I mean? Why not go back to the Big Bang to blame everything? I mean, come on. We had that huge period of Labour power where all the institutions were sort of just bashed into shape and made to be left wing forever. That's genuinely responsible for the current state we're in. We really need to break apart the sort of left wing grip, this slow march through the institutions that the communists have had, and make Britain a free and democratic country again.
I imagine, I agree with you, and I imagine anybody watching these kinds of shows is not going to disagree with that. My fear is we are 3 years into this, right? Supposing it does drift on in the manner that we actually look as though the direction of travel we're on. Do you think come the general election day, that with 50% of the country not paying tax now, which is an enormous number, don't you think that is a difficult area, that we may not see what we would have thought was a massive kind of win for the right in any form? Do you think there's a danger that the 50% on the left simply say, I tell you what, I rather enjoy not paying tax. I enjoy the fact that my benefits come in, that there's so much of a bribe, as you put it correctly, that they actually don't go the way that we want them to go?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think the other danger is that, the Burnham's Stasi, his hope not hate appointees, are going to be really effective at damaging support for the right. They're going to be, going after Farage, going after the whole of reform. And we've seen how dangerous this is. I mean, Hope Not Hate ran a horrible article on Anne Widdecombe that,
correct.
That really, we don't know the full circumstances around Anne Widdecombe's killing, but it's starting to look pretty obvious what happened. And these are almost the street troops, do the sort of stochastic terrorists of the left who are going out and doing the dirty work that's subtly cajoled and inspired by the left wing establishment. And you can see from the reaction of the left wing establishment, there wasn't a great deal of hand wringing over Anne Widdecombe's killing. Whereas if that had been a Reform Party member or a Restore Party member who'd done something, oh my God, we'd still be in national mourning. We'd still be, the BBC would be hammering us over the head with it every single day, all day long. But as it's somebody on the right who's been targeted, it's just it's quietly swept under the carpet.
No, can you imagine if it was an aging black politician that being killed by a young white of the right? I can't imagine what the result would have been. Leo, it's very good to speak to you. I love speaking to you, man. Come on anytime you like. If you feel, actually, I've heard you. If you feel there's a rant coming on, just hold on to it. Come on here. You can have your 2 minutes, and then you can go and get on with your day and making your money. Thank you very much for sparing your time. I'm very grateful.
Cheers, Kelvin.
Cheers, man. Righty-ho. Well, those of us who wasted 3 hours of our life watching the World Cup come to an end. I've loved the World Cup, by the way. I love the fact that the president was there aggravating the living shit out of everybody. That cheered me up no end. I love the fact that the Argentinians were beaten. I love the 6-4 result, beating France. As distinct from Wayne Rooney, who is a fantastic advert for Monjaro, by the way. He must have dropped at least 2 stone, possibly more, and actually in dropping the weight appears to have become more intelligent. I mean, this is a strange aspect to weight reduction. I quite like the way he delivers stuff, to be honest. I preferred ITV's coverage. I love their setting. Whoever came up with that setting in New York City should receive a substantial bonus. That will be worth quite a lot of money to them commercially, I would have thought, where media buyers and advertising agencies generally look at that and say, yeah, good bit of thinking there. You helped our product. I'm very grateful. So this is the end of the show. I'll be back tomorrow, more sensible talk. One other point I'd like to make is any small company that is having that's got a product on there, any small business person wants to come on and sell their product and have a chat with me about what business looks like, but also about the product, why they love their product, how it's doing, whether it's doing well, badly, or whatever, please just drop a line to UK Live and we'll have you on. The watchmaker here, Jonathan the watchmaker as he's known, is his business has perked up a little since coming on here. There'll be other people who, when they come on here, their business will actually turn down. So be careful what you wish for. But it worked for Jonathan. Hi, morning or afternoon, Mark. How are you?
Hello, Kelvin. How are you?
Yeah, well, more importantly, I quite like the K-pop guys in the halftime entertainment show. I hated Justin Bieber. I thought some of it was ridiculous and out of touch. But I like the idea. I'd like to see Brentford do it, where I'm a season ticket holder. I'm not saying I have all the big stars. I'd like somebody to come on there and do an act, right? A young rap act from the area, right? Doing some major hit of some kind. I'd love all that. So I can see that the Littlewood head is moving in an opposite direction. What do you think, Mark?
Absolute blasphemy, Kelvin. If you want to go to a football match, go to a football match. If you want to go to a Justin Bieber concert or a Shakira concert or a Madonna concert,
Shakira was good. She was good, Shakira.
I don't care. It's a football match, for crying out loud. 15-minute intervals between the two halves. I thought you were a traditionalist, Kelvin.
No, I'm not. No,
you've sold out to a foreign power, my friend.
No, you're completely wrong. If you've been to see Charlton, you would go to see Charlton play Walsall or somebody, you need something to cheer you up. And a rather dodgy pie supplied by Break Brothers is not the answer, right? Oh. And actually, Charlton's Shakira, I'm waiting to see you.
Great. Well, you're a persuasive man. So, Kelvin, if you reckon you can get Shakira to do a 10-minute set at the Valley on a Tuesday night when Charlton are playing Walsall, I will buy you drinks for the rest of your life, my friend, because you're the best promoter ever to pull that one off.
All right,
no, we're going to be
okay, all right.
That half-time entertainment. And the matches as well, right? All's well that ends well. I wanted England to win the World Cup, but the most important thing was that Argentina didn't, and they haven't. So to some degree, mission accomplished.
They did themselves a disservice by the way they played last night. They did football a disservice. They turned out to be what we already knew from the Falklands, that they're a bunch of thugs who, when they have it put to them, can't do it. I thought it was disgraceful. And I also think the sending off indicates the chances of him going to Real Madrid. Would you have thought that was high?
Yeah, I still think it is. If I was an Argentinian player, I'm not sure I'd be wanting to ply my trade in the English Premier League next season.
Yeah,
how about
correct.
You, Kelvin? Right?
That is a very good point.
So
that I totally buy. Very good point, Mike. Okay, we'll have a great show. And are you going to carry on doing the World Cup every after this show for another 4 years?
Well, it's a little bit difficult, Kelvin. We're thinking about it. We've done quite well on audience. You and me are beating Talk TV and GB News on their YouTube views live. Right. But okay. I'm a bit worried that if we were to try and make a big deal out of tonight's games, Kelvin, I might lose some of the audience. There's 2 matches in the Swedish Premier Division and 2 matches in the Finnish Premier Division. What kind of audience do you reckon I might secure for that?
I definitely think, Mark, that there is a role for the start of the Premier League, right? And I wonder whether actually you should take a well-earned break and come back with that, because the interest in football will never have been higher. I mean, the audiences were massive, weren't they? I really enjoyed it. Did you feel that way?
Yeah, best World Cup of my lifetime, Kelvin.
Correct.
I can just about remember 1978. This was the best one ever. I wish it had had a slightly better final game to cap it off. You always want a magnificent sort of 4-3 or 3-2 final. The final last time, which was 3-3 between France and Argentina, was a classic. But overall, on aggregate, the best World Cup in my lifetime, I would say. I was born in 1972, and I thoroughly enjoyed this one. Magnificent.
What about extending it to 64? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit nervous about that. It doesn't add as many games as you'd think, and it would mean that you no longer get that nonsense of the third place team going through, right? Because you would just have 16 groups, 2 going through, not sort of Scotland hanging on about whether just narrowly beating Haiti might actually get them a game in the next round. So it would be more matches, but it would also then go straight into the round of 32 without these people clinging on and nicking a place because they've somehow got a couple of draws or something. So I'm not against it, but as I keep saying to Pooch, the problem is that the quality of the competition starts to fall. If you had 64 teams, you might even have to let Italy into it. And, you've got to have some standard somewhere, right? So there's a little bit of a problem with the whole concept, to be honest.
Yeah, very funny. Yeah, good line. That we don't want any more Italians. Okay, lovely, Mark. Look forward to the show. Thank you very much indeed.
Great to see you, Kelvin.
Okay, that's it. And thank you for whoever said that in my wider family. I'll see you tomorrow. I'm seriously wondering whether actually the show would cheer up if Jesse came on more often, and we'll discuss and I'll tell you about that tomorrow. Thanks very much indeed. Bye.
Good morning. I'm Edward Hughes. The Knob of the North is set to enter number 10 as the new Prime Minister, promising a fresh approach focused on cost of living help, regional regeneration, and breaking from Westminster traditions. He faces immediate challenges on defence spending, energy bills, immigration, and North Sea oil policy amid pressure from the US. In crime news, police have named and pictured suspect Joshua Kerry in the targeted murder of former politician Anne Widdecombe at her Devon home. Counter-terrorism officers are investigating possible motives. Economically, the UK has seen modest growth, though property prices are feeling the heat from the World Cup and weather. Other notes include cabinet speculation, calls for stronger defence, and international ripples from US actions in Iran, and those big baby Argies lost to Spain in the World Cup final. Gotcha. Laters, Tigers.
Well, here we go, World Cuppers, for the grand finale. What did you make of it all? Not just what's happened this weekend, not just that the Argies lost. Thank God. Thank you, Spain. Viva España. I'm willing to break the English language only strict rules on this channel to say Viva España once more. Did you watch it all? It took forever, like an American sport, didn't it? It wasn't really 90 minutes of football, but I reckon I cheered that Spanish goal, basically the second Spanish goal, let's be honest, but the only one that counted. Absolutely delighted. Where did you watch it? Did you watch it at home? Did you watch it down the pub? Let's pull up image number 5, if we can, on Pooch's desk, because I reckon every Englishman was a Spaniard for a day yesterday. Can we have image number 5, please? There you go. Did you book your table for the Spain versus FIFA match? Spain won, FIFA 0. What a win. Let me bring in my wingmen to see what they thought of it. I mean, it was more breathing a sigh of relief. We've got Paul Cox in the box, and Glyn Brailsford, the Glindex. How the devil are you, sir? England didn't win, but more importantly, neither did Argentina. All is well in the world. What did you make of it, Coxie?
Point of order, first of all, comrade. What is a finale? I've never heard the word. I don't understand what it means at all, Mark. So please use subtitles if you're going to use foreign muck. Thanks very much.
Very good point, Paul. That was a bit like George Bush saying that the French didn't have a word for entrepreneur, right?
Do you remember when we thought George Bush was the thickest man in the world? That's been surpassed several times since then. He's now
I'm giving myself a yellow card for the breach of the linguistic rules on the channel. So fair point, Coxie. Fair point. Anyway, did you enjoy it? I can't mention that. Also, what's English for Schadenfreude? What is the English thing?
It's good point. Enjoying other people's pain. What would be the word for that? Yummy? I don't know. I mean, we just don't have a word. I've got the wrong glasses on. I've also got a different T-shirt on for the first time since the beginning of the World Cup. That's already been mentioned in the comments. Welcome to everyone in the comments. We welcome all banter and idiotic comments. But thank you very much. Please do let us know your pronouns. What am I talking about? Anyway, the final was ridiculous. We'll get to it later, but the real final took place on Saturday. Everybody knows that. What took place last night was some sort of jamboree. Like it was like World Cup pride, just without any football.
Yeah, I think that's right. It was like, and I mean, I do watch quite a lot of NFL. I try to be monogamous about my sports. You know, I think it's okay to flirt with others, but I think you've got to pick your one and only, and mine is association football. But it felt like watching the goddamn Super Bowl, basically. What did you make of it, Glindex?
Vamos Spain, that's what I made of it, Mark.
Whoa.
I'm only understanding 50% of everything at the moment.
You're not going to get any RG FIFA favours here, right? A breach of the rules is a breach of the rules, and that is a clear yellow card offence, Glyn. Clear as day.
Get your retaliation in first. That's what I say, mate. Just like a right back in Division 2, right? That's what I was doing there. Hey, I called it last week. I called it last week. Spain will reign. Argentina's on the plane, and I'm bloody pleased about it. It was a cliche, I think, and Kelvin was just saying before the show, but a victory for football, wasn't it? And you know, I didn't want Argentina to win for like a million reasons, but I really hope that Hernandez and Romero get booed every single kick of next season when they're playing their Premiership. They were biting the hand that feeds, waving that Falklands flag, or Malvinas flag as they would call it. So that really ticked me off. And as for Messi, well, he may have played in 3 World Cup finals now, and probably for the last time, but you never know with that guy. But he's behind another Latin superstar, because I don't know what she's got on Sycophantino, but last night playing her 4th World Cup final was Shakira, which is a bit mad. But let's talk about Spain.
Her fourth World Cup final. What does she win? Like, did she win the golden bra or something, or the golden lingerie? What does she get for being in?
All I know is it's true. The lips don't lie.
There must be an award for it, right?
I said all I know is it's true, and the lips don't lie. That's all I'm saying. You can correct me again if you want.
It's
the last match of the season,
by the way. The lips don't lie is a whole other X-rated video I think you've been watching.
Which Madonna got very, very close to giving us, frankly. Yeah.
Who wants to see those 70-year-old lips?
Yeah, exactly right. So here was my takeaway, right, guys, because we're vintage old school football types. Reminded me a bit of the 1990 World Cup final, right? That was the first really grim World Cup final, the first final in which a team failed to score. The dirty RGs lost to the West Germans in that World Cup final. And it was a similar sort of situation. The RGs were reigning champions. They had their talismanic figure back then, Diego Maradona. They've got Lionel Messi now. And they played dirty in 1990. Used to have proper refereeing then. So back in 1990, the RGs ended up with nine men on the pitch. They had 10 this time. When Fernandez was sent off, I immediately tweeted, it's great news that Fernandez has been sent off. This should make it 11 versus 11 for the rest of the game. And that was enough for Spain. Don't you think, Paul?
It's inexplicable how Argentina got that far, actually. I'm not disputing the result against England. The result against England was 2-1. We've covered that as a post-mortem in some depth. The game was there for the taking, and we didn't take it. Such a shame, 5 minutes to the final, etc. Tears, still gutted. But Argentina, or Farage-Antina, as they will forever be known, and rightly so, were just not... I just don't think that they were the team that... that were worthy of a final. They really weren't. Tippy Tappy versus it was like a pub game where you've got all the lads with the pink boots come from one pub and they're tippy tapping it around, and then the scaffolders and the bricklayers and the drug dealers come from the other pub with a flat roof, and they're the Argentinians, and we didn't get anything, did we? Like I say, the real culture, the real, I was going to say pizzazz, but that would get me a yellow card on this channel. The real whatever it is. Was in the third place playoff, the bronze final. We don't say that here on this channel, by the way. But I was mildly disappointed with yesterday's final, to be honest. We were exchanging messages during, as Glindex kept pointing out, Spain play this way. And do you know, it feels weird, but I don't think I saw that many Spain games. I really didn't, because I remember thinking last night, I've not watched a lot of this. They'd only conceded one goal, but I think they didn't score many either. And I don't know. There was something about last night's final just didn't sit right with me. It wasn't fun. It wasn't in the spirit of things. There was 30 minutes of bile in the middle, and I don't know. I was disappointed.
Yeah, but the right team won, right? I wonder if we can pull up image 10 just to go through the stats of it all, because it's quite a thing. If we've got image 10, we can put on the screen and hold on the screen. It's the final match stats. Yeah. So 1-0, obviously. Look at that, expected goals. Obviously, Spain wouldn't have had two because they would have won 1-0 in 90 minutes. But I don't know how you measure that perfectly decent Nico Williams goal in normal time. Shots, 20 versus 2. Shots on target, 12-0. Possession, 2-1. Passes, 2-1 again, more than 2-1. Pass accuracy. Opposition box touches. Look at that. I mean, the Spanish goalkeeper didn't need to make a single save. I mean, that's a 1-0 thrashing, isn't it, guys? That is a 1-0 thrashing. It would have been, and I had a pit in my stomach thinking about it, it would have been the absolute daylight robbery if the Argies had somehow snuck a goal or won it on penalties or whatever.
Yeah, Mark, it just wasn't very box office, was it? I mean, it takes two to tango, throw that one in. But Spain, I don't know about you, but it's a bit like watching a chess game, isn't it? They're not exciting. I mean, if you watch England, it's snakes and ladders. You know, we're up here, we're down there. Spain, they just play very evenly, very controlled, very efficiently, and they've won. So you can't knock it. But I wouldn't like to watch it every week, would you?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I quite like tactical football. When the Italians used to be half good, I quite liked the old catenaccio football. I don't mind teams playing as a team and as a unit. One thing that did irritate me was the officials all get rewarded. There's this like everybody must have prizes nonsense, right? I was completely confused about this. So the referee, the assistant referee, the VAR official, the whole platoon of them go up and they're all given gold medals. Why weren't they given silver medals like their Argentinian teammates? It was very, very confusing. Right? So I think they even got the colour wrong, right?
And it took 4 hours to present the medals. They were so late doing it. It was crazy.
And I didn't see the medal presentation.
Yeah, I didn't see it.
Took forever and a day. But the other thing, and Glindex and Cox in the box, I'm glad you've joined with me on taking this joint legal action against FIFA because, as you'll know, FIFA are still investigating the Argentinians for unveiling that Falklands flag, claiming the Falklands are Argentinian at the end of the semi-final. We have now, having consulted with the UK Live online legal department, the three of us have now put in an official complaint about the Argentinians' behaviour in the final with regards to the Falklands because they were absolutely riffing off the 1982 Falklands War. If you just look at those statistics, they were basically rehearsing, they were basically repeating the Falklands War. They went through the entire contest without landing a single shot on target, as if it was the 1982 Falklands War. So we put in an official complaint about that as well. Guys, listen, we'll be back with you shortly, but I know our next guest, who I'm delighted to welcome back onto the show, we had a few tech problems with her last time, but I hope we managed to iron them out this time round. Sophie Corcoran is with us, and I know is on a slightly tight deadline. Sophie, how the devil are you? Can you hear us?
I'm good, thank you.
What did you make of it all? As I said, I would have wanted England to win, but the most important thing was that Argentina didn't. Do you agree with that basic analysis?
Yeah, I mean, I can't stand Argentina. What a horrible team. And I think the Glindex is right. I hope that those players that play in the Premier League next season, I mean, I think we should just grow some balls and just ban them from the UK, personally. I mean, I'm all up for it. They shouldn't be getting work visas in this country if they're going to behave in such a hostile manner. So hopefully we give them some of it back when they come to the Premier League next year. But it was a very boring World Cup final. I did watch it last night, but I was more interested in learning a foreign language, actually. So that's going to get me a yellow card if I carry on. But
yes, yeah, right.
Yeah. But I think, yeah, it was really, really boring. I think Argentina were awful. I don't know how on earth we lost to them. All they've got is dirty tricks in the book. I mean, Paredes, they should have been down to 9 players last night. I know you said that they got 10. They should have been down to 9 players because Paredes had at least another 6 chances that he should have been sent off with. So it should have been down to 9. But nonetheless, FIFA obviously come in to protect them. But yeah, it was a terrible World Cup final. I thought our game against France was better. But even then, I think the response to England losing and the response to that France game, I mean, we did nearly bottle a 4-0 lead. I know we won 6-4, but we nearly bottled a 4-0 lead. And I just think that's why I don't think Thomas Tuchel should remain in post after this World Cup. I think he should be sacked. I don't think he's the right man to lead England. I think we're a better team in terms of individuals than Spain. And we most definitely should have been in that World Cup final. And I think this World Cup, from a British perspective, English perspective, has put in the fact that we have this obsession with participation trophies. Like, we have a participation trophy culture in this country where everyone's like, oh, well done, you know, they got to the semi-final, that's great. I mean, realistically, we beat Mexico, Panama, Croatia. It wasn't good. Like, come on, we need to win. I think, you know, we should be gracious in victory, but we should be ruthless in the pursuit of it. And that is what we're not in this country. And that's what we got wrong in the Argentina game. I mean, why didn't we go just stick 4, 5, 6 past Argentina? And that's what we did in France. Okay, yes, we nearly bottled it, but ultimately, we can't defend, England can't defend, we're shit at defending, so let's just outscore our opponents. That's basically what Spain women do, and that's why Spain women win. Spain women cannot defend for anything, but they will outscore you time and time and time again. That's what we should have done, but no, we have to be nice. We don't want to batter teams because we have to be graceful in defense. No, just go and absolutely batter them. And that's what we see in grassroots football. If you go to grassroots football, the team starts winning 3-0, the coach tells them, oh, don't go too hard, you don't want to beat them 4 or 5-0, it's not sportsmanlike. Fuck that, right? Go smash them 5-0. And it's the same as like sports days at school. Like, and you were talking about it. Why does everyone get a trophy? Why can there never be any winners? And I think it's a problem with British culture, and that's something that we've got to stop in British sports, this whole participation trophy nonsense. But yes, I'm so glad Argentina lost. And actually, if you look at the results, Cape Verde nearly absolutely smashed Argentina, and Spain had a really horrible time against Cape Verde as well. So in my eyes, my beloved Cape Verde did in fact win the World Cup.
I think that's a fair argument. The 2 World Cup finalists both failed to beat Cape Verde in 90 minutes. But the most important question I've got to ask you as a follow-up, Sophie, is, and this is sticking in my throat to even ask it, what foreign language are you trying to learn, and why, for goodness sake, and why? I'm almost reaching for the yellow. I'm almost reaching for the yellow. So you've got to explain that first before we get back to the 30.
Yeah, so I'm learning Lithuanian, and the only reason why is because my boyfriend is Lithuanian, and he's like great. Like, he's like, grandparents don't like speak. They live in Lithuania, so they don't speak as good English as other people. So I am being a good girlfriend and learning Lithuanian, but I absolutely suck. I can say about 5 words, and the endings of the words change every 5 minutes. But nonetheless, the game was so dull that I decided to make 100 Lithuanian flashcards instead. So there we go. But in positive news, I did have a pre-season friendly yesterday, Mark, and I scored 2 goals, which is good. So I'm off to a good start already this season, which is great news.
That's fantastic news. Well, you had quite a trophy haul last season, right? That's a pretty good start. What's your goals per game ratio typically?
Well, I mean, probably about 2, maybe 1 or 2. I score pretty much every single game. But this season, I think I'm hoping. I only played as a forward position. I'm typically a defender, but I played in an attacking position last year and got top goal scorer and top assists. So, I mean, most of the goals do come from me in one way or another, at least 80% of them. But this season, I'm hoping to score at least 25 goals. That is my goal for this season. So yeah, hopefully that will happen. But yeah, that was it. So at least I had a good result yesterday, if everyone else sucked. But yeah, I do think we need to sack Thomas Tuchel. And on what your fans have been saying, and what Kelvin said about you doing a show on the Premier League, I think we should absolutely sack that off, because that's a load of nonsense, and that we should focus on the Mighty Championship, where my Mighty Irons are going to absolutely trash everyone, because hashtag come on you Irons, and we should focus on that instead, personally, because no team is
Well,
as good as
you
West
do
Ham.
have the advantage of starting 4 points ahead of Southampton before a ball's been kicked, sadly. So it's going to be at least 2 matches before Saints can even get off the bottom of the table. But we've been in that sort of dicey spot before. Now, I'm going to stick up for Tuchel a little bit, I think, because I'm a bit worried that we sack our prime ministers and our football managers a bit too readily. And look, only one team can win the World Cup. And yeah, he did screw up those last 15 minutes against Argentina. But it is our second best placing ever. It's not as if we got knocked out in the group stages. He did get us through. It was 5 minutes away from getting to the final. I guess we would have been slight underdogs against the Spanish. But, I mean, are you of the view that if England are in a major tournament and we don't win it, then heads must roll? And if you were to get rid of Thomas Tuchel, who would you replace him with?
I think that on this occasion, I do think yes. And the only reason why is because he got it wrong himself, right? He's the one who made the error. It wasn't, we've played in World Cups before where our teams have been utterly dire. I mean, I looked at the last time we were in a semi-final, and I looked at the team sheet, and my God, how did we even get that far with those names on that sheet? This is the best England team I think we've had in my lifetime, which I know obviously is certainly not as long as yours, but that I've really seen. And I think that we should have won this World Cup. Well, we should have at least got to the final. But my problem is, if we'd have been totally outplayed by Argentina, I would have put my hands up and said, you know what, fair play, their team's better than ours, whatever. But they just weren't. It was a management decision that was bad. It was a negative management decision. And he also nearly bottled it against France. And it's like, fair enough. But my problem isn't the fact that that happened. It's the fact that his reaction seems to not take any responsibility for what he's doing in this. He's saying, oh, I have no regrets. You absolutely should have regrets. It's fine to make mistakes and to hold your hand up and say, you know what, I got it wrong. I shouldn't have done this. It worked against Mexico. I mean, I think that's a stupid excuse, by the way. People are coming to me and saying, well, oh, it worked against Mexico, it worked against Congo. Yeah, because that's Mexico and bloody Congo, mate. Do you know what I mean? It's not Argentina.
Well, the other thing was, Sophie, against Mexico, we were down to 10 men. So I would have had more sympathy if we had 10 men that you just say we're going to put everybody behind the ball and try and keep a clean sheet. But we were still 11 against 11, or obviously with the referee on the pitch, 11 against 12. But nevertheless, we still had our full slate of players, right? So that seemed to me weird to compare it to those previous matches.
Yeah, it was very negative. And also, you have to play the team that you're playing on the pitch, right? You can't just do, and this is kind of what Southgate did wrong as well, is, oh, well, this has worked for us one game, so we're going to do it every game. I mean, you've got enormous amounts of tactical analysis and footage and everything where you can look at every single individual team and tailor and that's what you should do as a manager. I'm obviously not one, and you should tailor your strategy and how you go from the match, not only on, the team that you're playing, but also how the game itself is going. And they just didn't do that. He just thought, it worked against Mexico and it worked against Congo, so we're going to try it again. And we shouldn't have done that. We should have gone to at least try and score another goal. But my problem with him is he hasn't taken any responsibility for that. And this is a team that should have won the World Cup. I believe we should have won the World Cup. And we should have most definitely win the Euros. And I just don't think he's the man for that.
I think the Euros are going to be the test. Look, just to give you Irons fans a bit of a worry, Southampton show real loyalty. I saw McP in the chat saying, has that Southampton intern who was caught spying been let out of the dungeon yet? But I'm quite proud of my club for what they did. I thought they were going to throw him under the bus. In fact, the top brass took full responsibility and they have given that intern a full-time job at Southampton Football Club because they believe it wasn't his fault at all. So the answer to that is he was never in the dungeon and he's now got a full-time job. I think that's the appropriate response from Southampton Football Club. So if you get your way, Sophie, look, I'll tell you what I think is going to happen. This is probably what I choose to happen, but in any event, it's what I think is going to happen is Tuchel will be given the Euros, okay? And that's on home soil. And every time there's been a major tournament on English soil, we've got to at least the semi-finals. But I think the task is to win that tournament. And if he fails to, then he's cut loose, unless it's some sort of outrageous refereeing decision that denies us. But if it's his own tactics. So who would you put in if not Tuchel?
Well, I've seen through that World Cup that the managers that tend to do the best in international football are not club managers, and we see it with Luis de la Fuente, for example. I think that actually Lee Carsley is probably our best effort, and people are gonna complain about that because they want the big names, they want the Pep Guardiolas, they want the Thomas Tuchels, they want these people, but ultimately there is a massive difference between being a club manager and being an international manager. And that's why you see it in women's football, why Serena Wiegmann is so successful, because she's just an international manager and she knows how to win World Cups and Euros and Olympics. And that's what she does. That's her bread and butter. I couldn't imagine her in club football. And you can see it as well in the men's game. The managers that are just men's international managers and weren't big club managers, I actually I feel like they fare a little bit better, actually. So I think maybe a Lee Carsley might be the one, because Luis de la Fuente came up through the age groups through the way he managed Spain. So I think actually, people are going to want Pep Guardiola and all of this. I think we should, first of all, have an English manager. I don't want a foreign manager managing England. And secondly, I think that it should be a man who specialises in international players, someone who's seen the players throughout the age groups, not just at the senior level, who knows how to create an identity of English international football. Because we look at Spain and we say, oh, this is the way Spain play. Spain have an identity about the way they play. Argentina do as well, because they're just a bunch of dirty bastards. But that's their identity. Whereas England, we don't have that. And I think if we had an international manager who's worked with players as they come through the age groups, and we look at the long-term project of England, I think Lee Carsley's probably the best bet.
There you go. Well, the Glindex on yesterday's show was arguing for Lee Carsley as well. And Coxie and I completely took the piss out of him. But the difference here is, Sophie, is that you know something about football. So if the Lee Carsley recommendations coming from you, I guess we got to start taking it seriously. Listen, Sophie, great to see you. I know you're on the clock. Thanks for your brilliant analysis. Thanks for joining us several times on this World Cuppa run. Lots of people in the chat saying they want UK Live Online to persist with a football show. What do you reckon? The Premier League, the Championship and downwards? What about covering Sophie's race to 25 goals in women's football? Tell us which leagues you'd want us to cover, right? I think the Championship's the most exciting league in the world, actually, but I'm kind of biased because we've been stuck there for regulatory reasons. Sophie, lovely to see you. Good luck with the Lithuanian. I've kept the yellow card in my pocket for that. You had a good enough excuse for that one. So hope to catch up with you soon. Good luck in your next match. Thanks so much, Sophie. The brilliant Sophie Kokorin there. Off to a 2-goal start at the start of the season in the pre-season friendly. Let's bring back in Cox in the box and the Glindex. Before we go to the news, gents, well, you got another Lee Carsley fan with you, Glindex.
Absolutely. It's gathering momentum, the campaign. Jonathan Norcroft in the Times said the same thing at the weekend. Martin Samuel said the same thing in the Sunday Times yesterday. So I'm in good company here. Just because I'm a Rotherham fan doesn't mean I don't know about football, Mark.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, the evidence keeps mounting up, doesn't it? Look, anyway, we've got to move on to some other games. Yeah, let us know in the chat what you'd like to see in terms of scheduling and sort of what divisions. Look, obviously, most eyes of the globe were focused on Spain versus Argentina, but there was another pretty epic game on Saturday evening, and I was glued to it. Glyn, you got it bang on right. Eastleigh 1, Southampton 3. How about that?
See, I know my football, Mark. You just proved it again.
You're in for a treat, World Cuppers, because for all sorts of understandable copyright reasons, we can't show you the goals from the World Cuppa. But I was there at the Silver Lake Stadium, and therefore I can share with you, and I know this will be a particular joy to Pompey Paul, I can share with you, taken from my very own phone, Southampton's third goal. That is clip number 1. Feast your eyes on this, gentlemen. Clip number 1. Well, there you go. Now, that was Sam Adozie who made that run and put the cross in. And you might have noticed that our £8 million useless United States centre forward completely misses the ball before one of the young academy players actually scores the goal. What do you reckon, gents? Was that Damien Downs, Southampton centre forward, completely fluffing it? Or Coxey, you're a generous sort of Pompey fan. Do you reckon that was just a modern version of the Johan Cruyff step over by the mighty Damien Downs there?
I don't think it was. I mean, I assume he got a call at least, to say, leave it, it's mine, and he left it. We'll be gracious and say that.
I think it's more likely it's just Bambi on ice, basically.
Yeah, just. I mean, it was quite something, wasn't it? It was some sort of yoga move. Obviously, with all the Saints and Eastleigh fans in one place, the New Forest ponies were able to roam free and without the threat of any lovemaking. So I think all round a good night.
Well, it was a very good night. We always like playing the team in blue in Hampshire for the honour to call ourselves the best team in Hampshire. But look, let's move on to England-France. I mean, what the hell was that, Glindex? Was that a football match or was that a basketball match? Or was it it's a knockout?
It was a testimonial game, Mark. We've all seen them. There were players shooting and missing and smiling about it. There was Declan Rice. I don't know if you saw this. Declan Rice and Mbappe swap shirts in the tunnel at half-time. Is that a serious game? Thomas Tuchel and Didier Deschamps were just chatting like mates in the tunnel at half-time. So it was a stroll in the park. And it was very nice of France to give us a 4-goal start. They could have won 8-4, actually, when they really started playing. It was almost like, let's give them a lead and see if we can pull it back. So good knockabout fun, but was it serious football? No.
So what do you think of that, Paul? I mean, in some ways it's an absolutely epic game. I think the highest scoring third, fourth place playoff stuff is bronze nonsense. Previously was 6-3, but they're always quite high scoring games. Sometimes they're a thrashing, but I mean, putting 6 past France. I mean, when was the last time they let in that number of goals, or even them putting 4 past England? What do you think? Do you reckon we let Mbappe score twice to make sure that Messi didn't get the golden boot? Once you've got a 4-goal lead, you might as well, I mean, I know we don't much like the French either, but I think the RGs are top of the hate list, right? What did you make of it? Had it been a meaningful match of football, it would have been one of the best games ever played, but it's hard to take it seriously, right?
Well, whether we did allow him to do that or not, I'm just glad that he did. Because of all the aforementioned noncery and housery from Argentina. But look, I've thoroughly enjoyed the game. I genuinely did. I thought Saka's hat-trick was brilliant. You still got to score the goals. You still got to go and play the team in front of you. I think England were very professional, particularly in that first half. The French woke up at half-time having, I don't know what they did, refreshed their baguette intake or whatever they do, licked a garlic clove. I don't know how it works in that French dressing room. I don't want to know either. But I thoroughly enjoyed the game. It was a spectacle. Okay, a little testimonial-ish, but I generally thought it was a fun game. It perked me up. That's what it did. I don't know if it did the same for everybody else. Let us know in the comments. But for me, I just felt better about the whole thing. We should have been in the final. We weren't in the final, and then we went and beat France, and we came third. And for me, it just added a little pep, which maybe should be our next manager.
Oh, there you go. Mr. Fish and Chips OBE says the score was a tennis set result. Yeah, 6-4. It's not often you see that in football. Look, I'll tell you something, guys. As you know, I'm a kind of free market libertarian kind of guy. I don't like enforcing new rules and regulations on hardworking people in the private sector, but occasionally you've got to make an exception in the interests of football and football fans. So I obviously decided to spend my time at the more important game on Saturday, Eastleigh versus Southampton, but that didn't finish till 9:30, making it rather difficult for me to watch England versus France. So get a load of this. I mean, this is almost even better than that steam train I was escaping on throughout the Highlands of Scotland. Have a look at this taxi I got to get myself back to London in the hope that I'd be able to see some of the second half please play clip number 2. This should be compulsory in every taxi in the land. Absolute genius. Clip number 2.
Yeah, I mean, nobody wants to get injured. It's nice to see Honda Econ out there. Oh, here we go.
What do you reckon, guys? You know, I don't like regulation, but I think, you know, in the interests of association football, Glindex, that should be in every taxi, every car in the land. Don't you agree?
Mark, it was uber impressive. Come on.
Oh, God. Oh, no. This could be a straight
Do I leave
red.
now? Is that me off the pitch?
Sin bin, sin bin.
I'm in the sin bin, says Mr. Fish and Chips.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll tell you what we didn't talk about, just briefly about England. Jed Spence was bloody great.
Yeah.
Again, he's not even a first pick for Spurs.
Yeah, he's had a great World Cup.
If Jude had scored that 6th goal in the ordinary competition, if you want to call it, in the run, that was a goal for the ages. It was brilliant.
You know what? It's a good point, Glyn, because if I was a Spurs fan, I might be slightly more depressed than if I was a Pompey fan, let's be honest. But if I was a Spurs fan, I'd be very disappointed with the fact that 3 or 4 of their players made it through to the latter stages of the World Cup, seemed to play outstandingly. I mean, obviously the RG Spurs players were cheats, but, you know, excellent cheaters, let's face it. Yeah. Spurs could have done with some cheating. I'd be very disappointed because... Yeah. How can a Spurs team that barely stayed up, sending Kokoran's hammers down, have that many players in the latter stages of the World Cup? Yeah. Outrageous.
Beggars belief.
All agreed, gents. Look, we've still got a ton more to plough through. Is there a Henderson update? Is the advertising hoarding still serving a 4-match ban, or has Trump asked Gianni to waive it? Very, very good question. I think that we've actually got something about the advertising hoardings coming up. You're not going to believe it later in the show. But look, gents, we're running a bit over time, so I'm going to go to the news. Then I'm going to get my next guest in. Then I'll be back to my wingmen. So can we go over to the news with Edward Hughes in a very appropriate shirt?
Good morning. I'm Edward Hughes. The Knob of the North is set to enter number 10 as the new Prime Minister, promising a fresh approach focused on cost of living help, regional regeneration, and breaking from Westminster traditions. He faces immediate challenges on defence spending, energy bills, immigration, and North Sea oil policy amid pressure from the US. In crime news, police have named and pictured suspect Joshua Kerry in the targeted murder of former politician Anne Widdecombe at her Devon home. Counter-terrorism officers are investigating possible motives. Economically, the UK has seen modest growth, though property prices are feeling the heat from the World Cup and weather. Other notes include cabinet speculation, calls for stronger defence, and international ripples from US actions in Iran, and those big baby Argies lost to Spain in the World Cup final. Gotcha. Laters, Tigers.
Brilliant gotcha from Edward Hughes with the news there. Look, let's bring up my last guest, my next guest rather. I've been trying to get him on the show throughout, but we finally managed to make the diaries work. It's James Price from the Adam Smith Institute. James, how the devil are you? How's these several weeks of football been for you, my friend?
It's great to be on here with you, mate. I think the last time this might have happened was during the pandemic. And so to go from a world event to another one like this in slightly happier circumstances is great news. I am married to an American, and therefore trying to explain to an American why the World Cup was not only brilliant, but was vaguely mandatory viewing, even when it was 2 countries that she or I had never heard of, was not the easiest challenge in the world. And I'm not sure I fully converted her as the way I think we've converted at least some of her compatriots. But it was good to see the contest through a neutral's eyes as well as my own slightly partisan ones. That's been part of the fun for me.
Okay, well, not that I want to cause you any marital strife, James, but I hope you push back against the cultural appropriation of our great English game with bloody hydration breaks, Madonna and Shakira, God knows what bloody else. What have you made of all of that? I mean, they are bending the rules. Back in 1994, they wanted the goals to be bigger to ensure there'd be higher scoring games. Well, they didn't, thank God, get that. But did you have a word in your wife's shell-like, in Mrs. Price's shell-like, to say, look, you should leave our things alone?
I'm going to commit some kind of treason here. I think the idea of having bigger goals is a great one. That'd be fantastic. That'd be way more fun. maybe that strikes me as not being very purist about it. But Ali's, my wife's ex-boyfriend was German, to make things even worse. And he went to go and visit her family in the States for the first time during one of the previous sets of World Cups. And he disgraced himself and confirmed every American stereotype about Europeans by getting so into every game and screaming and crying and not hanging out with the rest of them while there were games on and insisting on going to bars and shouting things and all the rest of it. That it, I think, confirmed for a little slice of the Midwest that the rest of the world was completely mad for caring this much about football. And I was trying to think why that is for Germans, for Englishmen, all the rest of it. Because when you go to the States, and I know, Mark, you love America as much as me, they are patriotic about everything all the time. They have the biggest, soda cups, as well as all the biggest farms and the biggest this and the best that and the other all the time. And so this thing is a bit weird that we get so into it. And I think that the flip side is every 4 years when you start seeing St. George's crosses on every white van draped out of every window, unless you're a Labour MP, obviously. It's the one time that you can have all this stuff out. And maybe the proof of this theory is on Twitter, the fact that you now get translations of tweets from all around the world. And you see, my goodness me, we've been told in England that we're all horrible bigots, but then you see the tweets coming out from other countries being translated. You think, oh no, there's a World Cup masterclass in bigotry from every other country that we need to catch up on if we've got any hope of being rude anymore, let alone anything else. And so I'm trying to see through Ali's eyes all of this. I'm like, why is it you actually care about this stuff so much? Because there are so few avenues for us to be able to be kind of openly patriotic or even derisory about other inferior nations to our own.
Yeah, that's all a very, very fair point. Look, James, I want to ask you a few questions that you and I are basically ideologically aligned. I can think of very, very little that we disagree about. We're kind of free market, conservative, patriotic kind of people. So what's your thinking about that this was a bit more of a kind of open borders tournament, right? That you've got Morocco, for God's sake, fielded an entire starting 11, none of whom were born in Morocco. Well, it's becoming a bit like club football then, right? At a club football level, Southampton fans, and I know it's true of all other clubs, will particularly cherish a local kid who's fought his way through the youth system. And, even though they're not as good as some superstar signing from some club that we paid 15 million for, we would cherish our local players. But I've kind of realised now that, the club is just a brand. There's very little connection between, perhaps 2 or 3 people from somewhere in Hampshire play for Southampton, but they come the world over. National football should be different, though, shouldn't it? It should be where you were born. Not that you found some great Aunt Mildred who once went to the Cape Verde Islands on holiday, and that's enough for you to play right back for them. What do you think? Have we been too relaxed on those rules? Is this open borders has started to infect football, do you think?
Well, I think what is interesting about it is that it brings up the differences about culture and culture not being the same, and a nation's culture not being the same as its legal systems, or certainly not of its state, of its government, or anything like that. I mean, Erling Haaland was born in Leeds, and yet no one is going around calling him a Yorkshireman in any way, shape, or form. He's about the most Norwegian creature ever created, and it's hard to believe.
If he committed a crime, he'd be described as a Yorkshireman and a choir boy almost immediately, mate. I'll tell you, if he committed a crime, he'd be described as a Yorkshireman, not as a foreigner, right?
Well, it was always the way with Andy Murray, right? Whenever Andy Murray wins, he's British, and when he loses, he's Scottish. Maybe we'd have it that way around. I think that you see some of the passion on some of these guys. You think, right, okay, it's like a version, I guess, of passing the Tebbit test. People will remember this, and the Tebbit test being if you have family that come from somewhere else around the world and your team plays England, who are you supporting, whether you're actually English or not? And you do see some people going, oh, well, Jude Bellingham, no, he's not English because he's not fully white. And you think, well, that doesn't sound at all right, does it? And I think I
don't care about the colour of the skin. I don't care about that at all. Look, I mean, it's evident that black players, for whatever reason, are proportionately better at football. I don't know what the black population is of England, but many more of them make it proportionally as professional footballers than the white population or the Asian population. So I don't care about the colour of the skin. But I think if I found some decent player who'd been, I don't know, born in Canada and then moved to Norway and then was brought up in France, but for some obscure reason could qualify as English, I'm not sure I'd want them in the team, whether they're white, black, or any other colour.
I guess it is all about, therefore, that cultural pull, what feels like home to you, what feels right inside, and the way that people seem to pour out their blood, toil, sweat, and tears for the different teams that they're playing for. I don't really think that many will go on and play for teams that they don't really particularly care about. I don't think that's evident at all in the England team, for example. And I suppose it should be that thing that you can see how you unite and bring together a diverse cast and crew and group of people, all talking about sort of shared history, what unites them rather than what divides them. That would be a perfectly sensible way of doing our immigration policy across the board. Whereas, of course, what we do actually at the moment in the political sphere is to go on and talk about everything that's different all the time. Oh, you don't understand about my particular microculture. We care about family and different foods, not unlike the rest of you, and so on. And so having these sorts of national stories is something that's clearly brought lots of people together. When you go to the pub and you see everybody jumping up and down and cheering, no matter who it is in the England team that scores, for example, maybe there's a lesson that we can learn there in having to try and build this new or an old, frankly, national identity together. And if someone wants to buy into that story, then there are cultural hoops to jump through rather than legal ones. And maybe that's the lesson that we should take from all of this.
Yeah, very sound as always, James. Look, the other ideological thing I wanted to ask you is that you and I are free market kind of chaps. You're a senior researcher, is it, at the Adam Smith Institute, great free market institution. So I'm loath to ask this question, but what do you think of the kind of commercialization of football, that ticket prices reflect supply and demand, not, for example, loyalty? So, I think if you wanted to get a ticket to the final, $36,000 goes to the highest bidder. Doesn't matter if you've been following Spain, home and abroad, or Argentina, home and abroad for the last 20 years, just goes to the highest bidder. So hugely, hugely commercialized across the board. And generally speaking, I'm for the profit motive and for the price mechanism. I just wonder whether sport should always be about the profit motive, or whether there's some other good that we should be pursuing. What do you make of all that dynamic pricing? And, one of the reasons I didn't go to the tournament, I was thinking of, I usually just, as I did this year, go off somewhere hot and sunny and sit in a sports bar and watch endless football. That's exactly what I did. But I was sort of, should I go to the USA? Once I started totting it all up, not just the ticket prices, but the fact that you've got to cross a continent, basically, between matches, it just seemed to me it wasn't built for the fans. Am I a stuck-in-the-mud socialist? Is this all rent-seeking from football fans like me? Do you think I've got a point, or would you just let the market rip, James?
You've definitely got a point on all of this, but I suppose, do you want the alternative to be that the government is the vehicle that steps in and meddles with the sport that you love and the team and the clubs that you love? Enough people, I don't know, whether it's the Saints that you love so much, enough of the kind of club fans get together and start lobbying the club, they're going to listen to that. And you might put various seats aside for people. You might have, legacy debentures and all kinds of options that you could do, that you could push and pressure. But Mark, you know this, you don't want the government getting involved in something, because invariably it's going to make it worse. Good old Ronald Reagan said, if you put the government in charge of the Sahara Desert, then pretty short order afterwards, there'd be a shortage of sand. And you might find that you have the same thing when it comes to football. So it's that classic old Bastiat line. You confuse me with wanting something to happen with me wanting the state to go and do it. And frankly, I've always found it's much better watching something like this at the pub than in a stadium anyway, where you can really kind of get your socks off. I watched the England-Argentina game in the end by myself in a square in Zurich in the middle of a thunderstorm with a bunch of Swiss Germans. And that was not perhaps the most exciting way to do it, but it was certainly more unique and different than if I'd have been stood in the nosebleeds in Atlanta or wherever it was.
Yeah, fair. Now, I'm told you are an ex or recovering or lapsed fan of Liverpool. Congratulations on coming over from the dark side. But why are you an ex or lapsed fan? I thought once you picked your club, or as is often said, your club picks you, there's no getting away from it. So have you defected, or are you now merely a neutral?
No, I think this reflects the fact that I was Well, am I fortunate or unfortunate enough to get into football before I got into politics? And therefore, I didn't know any of the connotations that saying I was a Liverpool fan would have. I'm from the southwest. It's where I live now. Not a huge amount of sporting prowess here. It's all rugby football instead of association football down here. And I think I got into football in the '98 World Cup when Michael Owen burst onto the scene with those incredible goal against Argentina and that penalty he won and all the rest of it. And I thought, oh, yeah, okay, I like him. That'll be the team that I support. Not realising the slightly more infamous history of the city, which will probably have me getting all kinds of threats now anyway for saying that. But I'm suppose I'm open to the concept of that free market that you talk about. Is there a team that I should support, Mark, that more closely aligns with who I am and the sort of thing that I believe in? You tell me.
The answer is yes, and the team is Southampton. I hope that clears it up for you, mate.
I think that's what you call an assist and a goal in football there. We've got a product market fit in that question.
Yeah, brilliant. James, lovely to see you. Let's catch up for a point soon. I'm really pleased we've got you on the show. Good luck with all of your endeavours. Always a pleasure to speak to you, my friend. That's the great James Price, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks so much, James. Let's bring back in my wingmen, because we got quite a bit to get through. We're hoping to get another guest on as well. We're just chasing him across the pond. Look, guys, I wanted to think of our awards, right? I know that we were lamenting that everybody has to have prizes, including the referees and officials getting gold medals. It's all a bit silly. Some of them, I think, are well merited. So you get the golden ball for the best player of the tournament. That was given to Rodri, the Spanish captain. Oh my God! If you look at the list of honours that he's won, it is out of this world. Actually, yeah. I think he's 30 years old now, but absolutely spectacular. Mbappe gets the golden boot. Who got the golden glove, Glyn? You've been following the goalkeeping.
Simon, the Spanish goalkeeper, got it, but I disagree with that because he's just playing behind the best defence, right?
Yeah, he didn't have many shots. He didn't have a shot to save yesterday, although they did only let in one goal. What else do we have? A best young player. I don't know who's won that one, but
the young centre back for Spain.
Oh yeah, fair play.
It's either him or Yamal, isn't it? So I mean,
yeah. But
Yamal's going to win everything from here on in.
Yes.
Yeah, pretty amazing what the number of trophies he's won, aged only 19. We thought that we should add to this, actually, because it's, the finale here, right? So, let's make sure everybody has prizes. So we've got a few additional prizes to hand out. I'm going to start with the Golden Scissors Award. Who, featuring at the World Cup, had the stupidest haircut? Right now, I think there are a number of nominees. I also think the regulations of the game should change here, or at least managers should insist that you don't have hair that might actually impede your ability to play association football. So if I was a manager of a team, it would be short back and sides for absolutely bloody everybody. But you would have thought, right? A shout can be made for Mark Cucurella, Sideshow Bob. I think he gets an honourable mention. But then probably he had a good game yesterday, actually. Nico Williams, I think, is image number 4. If you pull up image number 4, Nico Williams, a pretty strong contender. Image number 4 is of Nico Williams. And what is that? Fine if you're going to a fancy dress party. If I was his manager, I would tell him to cut all of that off. Easy for other players to tug on that. Peter Crouch once scored a goal against Trinidad and Tobago where the assist was that the defender he was up against had such long hair that he pulled on his ponytail to get an extra yard in the air. That's pretty damn stupid hair. But, gentlemen, with your consent, I'm actually not going to give it to a present footballer. I think it actually goes to a pundit. Let's pull up image 5. I reckon this pundit gets it. Image 5. It's image 3. Forgive me. I got my numbers wrong. There you go. Micah Richards. Is that hair or is that a hat? What do you think, gents? It's
like tarantula legs, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know what to say because it all feels kind of cultural. And I can't see colour or culture, so I'm very amiss what to say about these stuff. Obviously I can't do that. Glendex has gone for the long back and sides. We actually don't know what hair Mark has got because it's always under some sort of saint's hat. which is rather suspicious. It could be all sorts going on under there, Littlewood. We don't know. But look, I'm loath to say, but I think Mika deserves it.
Yeah. I reckon we could. I like Mika Richards. He was a bloody good, right back and centre back for Man City.
He burst onto the scene famously, obviously, Mark, as well. If you remember, he burst onto the scene as a defender. No one's. You imagine if Mika Richards wasn't actually the jolliest bloke in football punditry, you'd think he was mentally ill because of some of the stuff he says. But we do give him an absolute free pass for just. We do love a jolly chap, don't we? Us Brits. He's jolly. That's absolutely fine.
He's a good egg, and he is the winner of the UK Live Online Golden Scissors Award. Now, Glenn, I think you've got two. The first of which is the Golden Exit Award, getting out of somewhere. Tell us about that one.
Yeah, that is. It's actually the Golden Escape.
The Golden Escape.
The Golden Escape. We're calling this one, Mark. If we could pull up image 2, please, Pooch. Yeah, there you go. What a sweet picture that is. Isn't this an incredible story? These two lads, you can see this was obviously before Jude's growth spurt, but they've known each other, I think, since they were 5 or 7, playing in the junior leagues in Dudley in Birmingham. And here they are on the World Cup stage together. Morgan Rogers just about to be sold to Chelsea for 116 million. How much is Bellingham worth at today's prices? 200 million? So
I would have thought
two lads from Dudley. But I don't know what they've done to deserve this, but they've just been given the freedom of Dudley as well. But Lenny Henry had that as well, so it's not that big a deal. But for me, they're the best thing to come out of Birmingham since the M6. So they get the Golden Escape, right?
That is a great one. That's a great one. Now, I think, Paul, you've got I don't know, are we past the watershed yet? You've got a golden WTF. I think all of our viewers are adult, mature, and savvy enough to know what WTF stands for. You've got a golden WTF award, haven't you, Coxie? What's in Cox's box? Tell us who the winner is of the golden WTF.
Well, first of all, if they were sensitive to that type of stuff, the Corcoran interview would have sent them into all sorts of trouble. She used up all of our swear words for the whole of the 4 or 5 weeks. Brilliant stuff from Corcoran there. Absolutely love watching that. But yeah, I want to talk about referee Wilton Sampio. Sampio. He was the referee that refereed the South Africa or Mexico versus South Africa game, sending off a South African player for hitting essentially a Mexican player in the face towards the end of the game. But it wasn't the fact that the sending off was in any way, not correct or excuse me, I've had about 3 hours sleep for about 3 days. It was the fact that during this World Cup, we got a real taste of what it's like to hear every referee talk English whenever there was a VAR moment. And he came out and completely confused absolutely everybody by saying, not what he said, just the way he said it. It was like he was learning English on the trot. It was like player 11 the face punchio in baddie red cardio, and he sent him off, and the South African players just staring at him like some sort of meme, as if to say, I don't know why I've been sent off, I don't know who this man is or what he's saying. It was absolutely brilliant, Mark.
That's excellent. A sending off for like just sort of general misconduct without it being at all clear which laws of the game you've breached. Love it. That's the golden WTF. Well earned. And then, Glenn, you've got the Golden Exit Award as well. This is quite a nice and sentimental one, isn't it?
I think so. Both mine have been a bit soft on these, but we hear so much angst about getting eliminated from a tournament, 60 years of hurt, all that bolo, as the French might call it, and how long is it going to take us to get over our elimination? But for this set of fans, who they're an absolute delight throughout, not the Scots, there was no such hand-wringing. So for me, the Going Home with No Emotional Baggage Award, or shall we call it the Golden Exit Award, goes to the brilliant Norwegian fans. Let's take a look at clip 4, Pooch.
Oh my God, no way. No way. Oh my gosh. Oh, this is awesome.
That was brilliant. I agree with you. I think they probably were the best fans, at least from what I could observe from afar. And absolutely brilliant. They managed to get a TSA agent actually joining in with them on the carousel. These people are usually totally humorless sods who probably would have arrested everybody.
Yeah.
But I don't really know what the TSA does. That was brought in after 9/11, wasn't it, to catch...
That's right.
To stop terrorist threats. Do you know how many terrorists they've arrested since 9/11?
No, 4.
Coxie?
How many terrorists? Did you just ask how many terrorist attacks there's been since 9/11?
No. How many terrorists of the TSA arrested since 9/11?
You know, I thought I was on the wrong show for a minute there. I was like, oh God, I'm not prepared for this. No, I don't.
We're now moving to the serious part. Yeah. We're now into blood, violence and carnage. We've gone all Farage and Dina all of a sudden. It's all about blood, carnage, revenge and violence. No, it was a very simple pub quiz question. Since being founded after the 9/11 2001 terrorist attacks, how many terrorists have been arrested by the TSA?
Don't know.
The answer, ladies and gentlemen, is 0. So the Americans are pretty good at spaffing your hard-earned taxpayers' money up the wall as well. Quite a shocker. Look, gents, we're going to come back because we're going to go through our highs and lows of the tournaments. We're going to have also a look forward to what football brings next. But by popular demand, the most requested return of any guest on this show, by far, joined from the other side of the pond, is the Democracy Institute's Patrick Basham, back for our finale. Patrick, how the devil are you? Everybody wanted you back on the show. Great to see you, my friend. And you are in a different location. People were concerned on your first 2 appearances that there was some hostage situation going on with a camera above you. I did have to explain that, unlike Mike Graham, I take a rather stricter view of my guests. He's quite happy if people don't turn up. I'm not at all. So I said I had to keep you under lock and key to guarantee at least 2 appearances from you. But you have voluntarily, as a free man, come back for the 3rd appearance. How the devil are you, Patrick?
I am really good, Mark. It's fantastic to be back. I just hope you noticed those 2 appearances. I did read those prepared lines you gave me as well as I could, with as much emotion and human element.
Well, given where the electrodes were attached, it was probably anything you could realistically do, right? So
exactly, you can only do work with what you have in front of you, or attached to you, the case may be.
So I think you played the tactics absolutely perfectly, Patrick. Now, you're the guy we want to talk through because you're the numbers man. You crunch the numbers. You give us the stats. You've sent me a few images that we'll run through. You've got your USA baseball cap on. Tell us, this was a tremendous success, the hosting of this tournament for the United States of America and, in parentheses, Canada and Mexico, right? But I mean, a brilliantly hosted World Cup. Is that fair to say?
Oh, absolutely. You almost can't overstate how well it has gone. I mean, one thing that America, but especially the world, has been reminded of is that America does a show, puts on a show well, right? And the stadiums were great. The stadiums were, better than most expert observers had experienced anywhere else in the world. There was no trouble in terms of crowds. Everything was really well run. And so domestically, the success is, you've got the full stadiums. You've got the wonderful interactions between the foreign supporters, the foreign fans, and Americans themselves. And then, of course, externally, I think the sort of the soft power element of this that was probably unexpected and maybe unappreciated, unforecast before this thing kicked off, is how many foreigners, especially Europeans, have discovered the real America, totally aside from the soccer and the football. So you've got foreigners, say, especially Europeans, coming here thinking this is Trump country full of really stupid, evil people. And they've traveled all over, many of them traveling to, say, the American South for the first time. And they've discovered that these are really normal, nice, especially friendly people. And so I think the ripples on the pond, in a geopolitical sense, are that there are a lot of people, millions of people, who will go back to their home countries and actually pass on the word that those terrible, evil, Trump-loving Americans are actually quite nice.
Yeah, let's pull up image number 8, which Patrick sent me, if we could. I think this is how the Wall Street Journal kind of covered America. No, that's image number 6, isn't it? I want not that one. I want the Wall Street Journal one. It's got the World Cup trophy. That's the one. Sorry if I've got them in the wrong order. The Wall Street Journal, how the US lost the World Cup and won over the world. So, I mean, the US team, I guess, performed about with expectations, Patrick. Now, one of the big things I campaigned for is I am furious that American agricultural products and indeed pharmaceutical products are basically not allowed into the UK. The big standout one is chlorinated chicken. Apparently, we can't have chlorinated chicken over here on our supermarket shelves for whatever reason. Have you met, in your study and travels around this World Cup, any single Brit who refuses to eat chicken when they're in America, but eats chicken in England? So might my dream come true that this cultural experience, especially from the Brits, maybe from the EU citizens as well, that we might finally have some people who understand that chlorinated chicken is very, very tasty and there is no reason at all why we shouldn't be able to get it in our domestic market. Is that too much for me to hope for, Patrick?
It isn't. I mean, I spent 5 weeks. My number one priority was to find such a person who refused to eat the American chicken. I didn't find them. And the other thing I found, and I think there's a lot of actual empirical data to support this, is that a lot of Brits went back home delighted to have discovered that soft drinks, fizzy drinks, you can get them in a restaurant and they keep refilling your glass without charging you more money. And they discovered the wonders of ranch salad dressing. So between the chicken, the Cokes, and the salad dressing, the ranch dressing, I think a lot of Brits, especially, their culinary the culinary palette was expanded, if not in a more cosmopolitan way, than certainly in a more Americana way.
That's good to know. The other thing I want in my country pretty damn fast are bacon bits. These are these little tiny hard bits of bacon that you pour all over the salad. I usually have more bacon bits than salad if I'm at a salad bar in the United States of America. And Fruit Loops, the cereal. This is the most gorgeous breakfast cereal ever. Fruit Loops, you just cannot get them in the UK. I always smuggle a packet back. So that's fantastic. If we can get more of the American culinary experience coming over here. It's my theory that British culinary practices improved a lot from the 1990s onwards because tourism increased and people were coming back from more foreign holidays and not putting up with the garbage we were served here in England. But I want to come on, Patrick, because you've given me some great stats about the kind of impact that association football had in America. So we can pull up slide number 6, the kind of World Cup record slide. That was the one that we had on the screen erroneously a couple of minutes ago. This is quite, that's image 7, I think, the semi-final viewing. So it's the one before that. That's it. World Cup shatters all-time records. Now look at this. 6.25 million or more attended. Stadium occupancy, we were told that we were going to have half-empty stadiums. 99.7% stadium occupancy. Well, you're always never going to hit 100 because people are ill or die or whatever. 50.1 million viewers for the USA versus Belgium game. That's the most watched non-NFL sporting event in America. 120 million plus Americans watched the World Cup. What's that? About nearly 1 in 3 Americans. Talk us through these stats, Patrick. This looks like association football might be on the verge of takeoff.
Absolutely. I mean, as you know, Mark, before the tournament kicked off, there was a lot of concern. In fact, an expectation that stadiums would be partly empty, maybe half empty. And the weather, extreme weather, would ruin a lot of these matches. That Americans, soccer has been a participatory sport in this country for quite some time, but not something that people necessarily sat down and viewed, except for your sort of your niche, really hardcore expat watching the Premier League or La Liga on the weekend. But all of that changed with this World Cup. I mean, the fact that America Team USA got off to a very good start and won their group fairly comfortably made all the difference in the world. the media, really, the massive mainstream media, beyond the media, the Fox covering the actual tournament with the actual games, really got behind the team, really started to communicate the tournament to sort of the average American casual soccer fan. And so those numbers, they are striking and they are unexpected, but it's true. Over the few weeks, the momentum really built both the interest in Team USA's potential success, but more importantly, more long-term and macro terms, interest in the tournament itself, what the World Cup is all about, and interest in soccer. So just as in 1994, when America first hosted the World Cup, in the MLS, professional soccer in this country really took off, had a real liftoff from the World Cup in 1994. It looks like that the 2026 World Cup in America is going to make a lot of difference, perhaps a permanent medium to long-term difference in terms of what the average American thinks of the sport and whether the average American TV viewer is actually willing to sit down for a couple of hours and watch a match. And the answer appears to be yes, they will be.
So yeah, let's just pull up that last slide, which has flashed onto the screen a couple of times. This is about the semi-final viewing. And the reason I found this one fascinating, Patrick, here are the viewing figures for Argentina versus England, nearly 17 million, and more than 13 million for Spain versus France. And the reason I found this so interesting is that the USA are now long out of the tournament. So my concern was, although I was furious about the intervention to rescind an American player's red card, but putting that aside, my general concern was, and I wanted the USA to do well, because I was worried that domestic interest in the tournament would wane or even fall off the edge of a cliff as soon as the USA team are out. But those numbers are spectacular. I mean, you're starting to get towards NFL kind of playoff viewing numbers in those numbers. Am I right?
You're absolutely right, Mark. Yeah, I think a lot of people shared your sort of cautious pessimism that come the quarterfinals onwards with no American participation, that it would really drop off a cliff. But you see that. Those semi-final viewing figures do really, really demonstrate in the most tangible way that there is a soccer audience, on TV audience for soccer in America, which it has been for some time, but there is a very, very large soccer TV audience. One that can outdo most NBA games, NHL hockey, your average, Major League Baseball. Only things like NFL playoffs, the Super Bowl, right now are looking like they can actually, put more eyeballs on these games. So it's a tremendous achievement in America, and it also shows you too how much interest there is in certain countries, certain teams, right? All the Latin American teams you saw the fans at the games, how they took over the stadiums, took over the cities, arguably, in which the games were hosted. Tremendous interest in Argentina, but also tremendous interest in England. Any of, England, Scotland, any of the, sort of old country teams, they have not just immediate first, second generation expat communities, but of course most people can trace their lineage in one form or fashion. Americans are completely obsessed with genealogy, and so I think a lot of Americans, if they hadn't thought about which team am I going to support once America is out, they sort of went back to basics, as it were, in terms of their ethnicity, their heritage, and said, okay, my great-grandfather's from Sweden, so I'm going for Sweden, or whatever it might be. And so all those numbers reflect so many things, many of which many people didn't anticipate, and all of which are very positive. And it's been a perfect storm in terms of putting together very, very large TV audiences for the World Cup.
So what's the next step, Patrick? It's already been suggested that, having hosted it so brilliantly, that 2038 may well be hosted in the United States of America again. But obviously that's a long, long way off, right? I think we know the next two hosts. It's going to be in Morocco, Spain and Portugal 2030, and then Saudi Arabia 2034. So 2038 is the next gap. But I'd like to see football go supernova in the United States of America before then. So is the challenge now to get the US men's team, packing out stadiums when they're playing matches, against their continental rivals, or even perhaps friendlies against the likes of Brazil or England? Or is it to try and get the club football scene to be bigger? I know there are pockets of real great interest. In Portland in Oregon, for example, has a massive football following community. What's the challenge there? Because it's been such a long time since 1994. Seems to me that the case for the USA hosting it in 2038 is pretty overwhelming. But in the 12 years before 2038, what needs to happen to make the most of it, to really get a harvest from this highly successful hosting?
I think the principal challenge is to take Major League Soccer, the domestic professional league, to a new level. It is right now. It provides an opportunity for domestic players to ply their trade, especially those who aren't Team USA caliber, and of course for aging European and Latin American, African players to come here and spend the ends of and have a lucrative end and not too tasking end to their careers, and that's great. It has been overall, you have to say, successful. But if fans are going to show up week to week to watch domestic soccer in America, not simply to watch Team USA versus Brazil or Argentina, then the domestic league needs to be at a higher level, because those who are interested are now able to watch La Liga and Serie A and the Premier League, etc. Live. In fact, they get this. You can see more European soccer live in America than you can in Europe. So they're competing with that quality, that show, and the fact that you don't have to leave your living room or your basement. So will enough money be invested, and can the thing be marketed well enough so that top American players no longer feel they must go, for example, to Europe to get the attention of a Pochettino or whomever is coaching the American team? Can the domestic league provide enough talent and enough opportunity for the better American players to stay here, so that your American or domestic audience, week in, week out, whether on television or especially in the stands, is actually watching the best Americans play? Whereas to this point, over the last decade or so, the best Americans aren't playing domestically. They're only seen by their American supporters, when they play an international game at home.
Yeah, but it could be, I guess it could be a win-win, right? I mean, free market orientated people like you and I, Patrick, know it's not a zero-sum game, that you might see an uplift in people picking Premier League teams that they want to follow on the television, but that also acting as an incentive to watch their local MLS team. Hopefully we could get both, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's, the World Cup tournament itself has been kind of revolutionary in terms of opening Americans' eyes to international soccer, which is fantastic. But the growth of the domestic game and the domestic professional league, is an evolutionary process. And so the revolution of the World Cup revolution is going to help tremendously. The question is this something that burns out in 6 months, a year, 18 months? Or is this something that organically can grow, and over 5 to 10 years, it's an unrecognizable domestic professional context and environment here in America?
Patrick, thank you so much. You've been our most demanded guest throughout this series. It's been absolutely brilliant to have you with us. Look forward to catching you up in person soon. Ladies and gentlemen, the great Patrick Basham. Thanks so much for all your insight, Patrick. Have a wonderful day, and thanks for hosting such a fantastic tournament.
You're most welcome. Take care, Mark.
Let's bring my wingmen back in. Coxie, Glindex. Coxie, what did you make of the Super Mario Brothers take on the World Cup?
Good God. I mean, great to have Patrick back. Glad he's been released. Patrick is a human being that's never looked more like an e-fit or a composite sketch that I've ever seen. And then to top it all off, an actual crime was solved during the interview. Did you see his hostage escape? She got from out under the bed. The dog managed to cut the ropes for her, and off she went. She's gone. So Patrick has lost one of his hostages, and fair play to her for getting away so quickly. It was very interesting, incredibly interesting to hear from Patrick. I'm sure we will get to hear from him probably in the crime series 60 Minutes later on in the year, or some sort of Netflix special, as we find out that Patrick has actually been convicted of some serious crimeage. But until then, he's always welcome on the show.
Yeah, Coxie, I think I can clear up some of this, and I feel a bit guilty about it, because Patrick is a man of many, many talents. And I think it's fair to say he was poacher turned gamekeeper. So he was, under armed guard, but he managed to turn it around, enslave the armed guards himself. But unfortunately, his kindness in appearing again in the show seems to have meant that his hostage has now escaped. So he'd managed to flip it on its head. But he's probably going to have to dash down the street and try and recover and capture that particular person again. Glenn, what did you make of that? Are we really going to see it boom in the USA, like Patrick says?
I think he's right. The acid test is like 6 months down the line when the euphoria has gone away. But I think there's already an incredibly high level of awareness about the Premiership in the States. And I think that's our best chance. I know tons of people that are Arsenal or Tottenham, they all swear allegiance to some club. And like Patrick says, it's easier to watch a Premiership game in the States than it is here in the UK because all the games are available simultaneously. So they're definitely taking it seriously. You look at the numbers. Well, do the numbers lie? I mean, I don't think so. The revenues are fantastic. They've got such infrastructure that in some ways you go, how could it fail? And even if it isn't their top sport, if it's behind NFL, etc., it's still huge in European terms, right?
Yeah, that's right. The other thing I just wanted to focus on, and look, we've been watching this from afar, us three, me variously from Mallorca, from extremely high-end taxis and from steam trains, Glyn from out in deepest, darkest Surrey, and of course, Coxey from his prison cell there, where we've still got lawyers trying to spring him to freedom. But it did look like in the States that watching football, it was a bit like watching it, we said this a number of times, from a spaceship, that the kind of overarching quality of the experience, massive screens, wraparound screens, that one in the SIFO Stadium, is it called, that weighs God knows how many tons. I mean, just way beyond even the top end stadia
well,
here.
It was like tomorrow's world for us, wasn't it? We have no idea here. Here is all taxes, poverty, and small boats. We've decided to go full communism, and if the Burnham latest shenanigans is anything to go by, it's only going to get worse. But look, I think it's been fantastic. I'm not sure we should just have the US host the World Cup every other 12 years because they're great at it. It needs to go around. Obviously, we've been to Qatar. We're going to go to Saudi Arabia. We need to go to some of the other worst places in the world and see if they can use their ill-gotten gains to host the world's biggest football competition. But I'd like to see someone like the Cape Verde Islands host the World Cup, and we all got to play on something worse than a Sunday league pitch, and really see what Messi and our players are all about. Just people gathered around the local park watching the final, I think would be absolutely fantastic. Give Cape Verde some money. Maybe take it to Hayling Island. That's what I'd like to see. That's very close to me. It's where my golf club is. I'd happily host one in my garden, for instance. But I'm looking forward to it coming back to the UK for the Euros. I'm not so sure it should go to the US, as I say, but they are leagues years ahead.
So get this on the technology, right? Which this blew me away. And when we were discussing it earlier, we couldn't agree whether this was actually telling us about something that might happen in the future or something that actually happened at this World Cup. Look at we talked about the commercialization, but how about this for a brilliant piece of technological commercialization that I don't think would have crossed our minds here back in the motherland? Could you play clip number 6, please, Pooch and team? This is staggering.
FIFA uses an incredible way to show different ads simultaneously during the same match depending on the country. It's not editing, not AI, it's pure physics. The same board can make 4 times the money. So how do they actually do it? The screen is running at 240 frames per second, and instead of showing one ad, it's showing all 4. Each country's camera runs at 60 frames per second, and it is only grabbing every 4th frame. One board is split into 4 streams of 60 frames per second. The crazy part, the only people not seeing a clear ad are the people who paid to be there. They only see a blur. A trick turning into millions. Follow Brandology to not miss the next one.
That's
Amazing.
again, it seems like alien technology, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Seems like the sort of technology they used to build the pyramids, Mark. We still haven't discovered how they did it.
And just quadruple the revenue at the same time. It's amazing.
I mean, yeah, from an economist perspective, it's absolutely genius, isn't it? And if they can get 3 ads in 60 frames per second, imagine what they can get by 2030, 2034, 2038. It'll just be Coke coming out of your TV screen. Coca-Cola, by the way.
Coca-Cola, just to be clear, we always stay on the right side of the law. Look, gents, everybody stay with us. I know we're well into extra time, but we've got a little bit more extra time to go, possibly even penalties. No, it is amazing, isn't it? I mean, looking at that advertising stuff, I mean, I feel like I'm a kind of East German in 1973 looking across the Berlin Wall. Well, I suppose I am, basically. I live in a socialist country and I'm looking across the water at a capitalist one. So wouldn't it be nice to be a bit more like them, basically? But stay with us, loyal viewers. We've still got a little bit of extra time to run and penalties. And I'm going to come back to Cox in the Box and the Glindex for their final thoughts on the tournament shortly and a little bit of a look ahead to the future of football. But first, the other guy I really wanted to get on my show, and I was furious that I couldn't, was Dominic Frisby. Great chap. And he's finally got back from America, where he didn't manage to actually see any of the games live. But I caught up with him yesterday before the final. Here's my interview with Dominic Frisby, which is clip number 5. Well, I'm joined now by writer, comedian, musician, economic commentator, crypto enthusiast, all-round good guy and polymath, Dominic Frisby, who's been crisscrossing the United States of America and a slice of Canada, a bit like the World Cup has been doing.
I managed to go everywhere. Wherever I was, there was never a game there. I nearly caught I think it was Turkey, Paraguay or something ridiculous, but I just missed that one. But I was in San Francisco and Menlo Park to start with, and that was sort of where the group games were, and there was quite a bit of interest developing. And then when I went to Palm Springs, that was when England was playing Mexico, and my mother says, "Oh, I've booked us a table in a Mexican bar." And I said, I don't think we should go there, Mum. And Mum started going, "Oh, but I went there for one of the other games. It was such good fun." And we went to this Mexican bar, and of course it was absolutely horrendous. But fortunately, the game was delayed by an hour, so that bought us time to go and find another bar. And then Vegas, it was on absolutely everywhere all the time. But they still seem to give priority to the baseball. And then Vancouver, I was visiting some mines, and we actually had to cut short a mine visit in order to watch one of the games. And the people in the mines just could not understand why this was so important. But it was England, Argentina, so it was pretty important.
Yeah, pretty important. And yeah, we've done the whole post-mortem on that one. Don't really want to dwell on that one. So do you think association football is really going to take off in the States and in Canada? Or is it always going to be, I mean, it's sort of there or thereabouts, right? It's probably sport number 5 or sport number 6, but it's never going to break through against NFL or baseball or basketball, is it?
No, they just don't get it, and they like it. I mean, we had all this last time around. Was it 1994, the last World Cup in America, and they all said it would catch on, and it never did. That said, there is a lot of kind of there's a lot of Latinos in America, and they all play football like mad, and a lot of the Wasps do as well. I think a lot of people play it, kind of at grassroots level, but it's not like going through Mexico or somewhere where everywhere you look, people are playing, but they do play it. But I just don't think at the watching on the telly level, which is perhaps more important, I don't know. I just don't think it'll ever compete with baseball or basketball or American football.
So it's like rounders in England, right? Everybody plays it at school, but I've never watched a professional rounders game, and I couldn't name anybody in the England rounders team, right? So it's cursed to be like rounders in England.
That's quite a good comparison. You see a lot of people playing touch rugby in the parks, and it might be a bit like that. Whereas, is there a touch rugby league? I don't even know. Interestingly, on all the TV channels, they brought over all the English pundits, and it was very occasionally that the 2 American pundits were Clint Dempsey and Alexi Lalas. Do you remember those two? And Lalas was the sort of the Alan Hansen, the controversial character, and he would always get into rows with Thierry Henry. If you wondered where Thierry Henry was, he was taking the US dollar during the World Cup, as was Abramovich. And they were on Fox. But it was sort of when you hear an American commentating on it, they just use terminology that we don't use, and it was like, no, that's not right. Across the ball line, and I'm like, what's the ball line? You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Two nations divided by the same language. Now, obviously, the eyes of the world have been on football this weekend, and none more so, really, than the incredible match at the Silver Lake Stadium yesterday. Eastleigh won, Southampton 3. What did you make of that one, Dominic?
Well, I wasn't aware that game was taking place, but I'm pleased to be talking to you, Mark, because I was walking down the street yesterday and I was thinking that Southampton Football Club has produced two of the great political contrarians of our time in Rupert Lowe and Matt Le Tissier. So what is it about Southampton that radicalises people?
Well, as they say in America, but for different reasons, the South will rise again, right? So maybe it's something in the waters down there. So, and look, we're talking to you ahead of the final, but what did you make of the madcap kind of it's a knockout? England 6, France 4 after 90 minutes. Crazy, crazy lunatic match. Does this prove that the third, fourth place playoff final should exist? The bronze game, as they call it, or does it just prove it's a completely different sport, basically?
Well, I was throwing an enormous tantrum, and I was like, I'm not going to watch it, you know, because of everything. And then, of course, I walked in and Declan Rice scored as I walked in, and then of course I sat down, and it was just a brilliant game of football, and it's always fun, you know, watching England beat the French. You know, one takes pleasure, and France just didn't turn up. I don't know if it was because England were brilliant or France didn't turn up in the first half. I'm not quite sure. And then my son and I were watching it, and we were like, France are going to win this. And then France scored, and then they scored again, and they scored a third time. And actually, Dean Henderson, despite conceding 4 goals, I thought he had made some very good saves, had a very good game. And yeah, it was a great game. And it was, if only, you know, Argentina are such cheating, dirty, you know, they just cheat. Everyone says FIFA's biased. I just think Argentina are better at cheating than anyone else. But that game between England and France was played in such good spirit. Maybe it's just because there wasn't that much on the line, but it was just, I thought it was a very good spirited game, and it was just a fantastic one of the games of the World Cup.
Yeah. And it's the first time that England have beaten an elite team, by which I mean a top 6 ranked team in the World Cup, since 1966.
Well, I didn't know that. Good stat. Good fact.
And where were you on the Thomas Tuchel issue? Obviously, people's blood was boiling after the last, 10 minutes of the game against the cheating Argies. I don't know if the England players had flags ready to go, rolled up inside their jerseys. The pictures of the Belgrano and the Falklands is ours and 1982 written all over it. But has he redeemed himself a bit? I mean, supposedly blown that 4-goal lead against France. Do you think calls for his head would have been even higher?
If France had won 5-4, which at one stage it looked like they were going to, I guess that would be ridiculous. And he must have been tempted when they were 4-2 and coming back to bring on 4 centre-backs.
Yeah, I see loads of people on social media were demanding, as soon as Declan Rice scored after 3 minutes, that we should hook Ivan Toney and put on Big Dan Burns, right?
Yeah. I was surprised that he brought off Gordon. I really was. And, I've read all the stuff about we had already gone defensive before he brought on the defenders. So I suppose he's excused a little bit, and it had worked twice so well. And when you do something that works, it's hard to break away from it. Yeah. But, we got the shit kicked out of us, in the first half so badly. And I just think we need to learn to protest more, to act more. They're just so good at cheating. And, do they do diving practice? They should get some theatre directors in and teach them how to dive and act and do all of that, because it's part of the game and it's what's got Argentina so far. And, Messi was as dirty as anyone. There was like 3 really dirty challenges. But because he's Messi, and, what's his name? The left back who made all the tackles, I've forgotten his name. Yeah. When Messi got him on the thing, he should have just gone down and writhed, but he got up and tried to defend. And we need to learn not to do that. If he'd gone down and stayed down and writhed around on the ground, then the referee would have had to stop the game and Messi wouldn't have put in that cross. So we're just not streetwise enough when it comes to playing Argentina. But then I don't think anyone is.
Yeah. Lastly, though, Dominic, do you think in any form it's
I
ever
do think, by the way,
home?
I still maintain that he should have bought Trent and he should have bought Cole.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
They're just too good not to be there.
Dominic, is it ever coming home? Look, it's always a game of inches. We always seem to fall either a long way short or just an inch or two short. This is an inch or two short one. We're hosting the Euros alongside Ireland, the Republic of Ireland, in 2028. We're men of a certain age, Dominic. Are we ever going to see England win a trophy, or is football all about pain rather than glory?
Well, it'll come when we least expect it. I keep remembering every time a World Cup's over, they look to the next generation. It's like, I remember we got Redknapp coming through, we got Fowler coming through, we got all these, got all these great young players. We're going to be excellent, and then it just never happens for whatever reason. Somebody gets injured, or they just don't quite deliver when they're 26, 27. But at the moment, you look at it, and we don't seem to have. Obviously, Bellingham's only 23, but he seems to have matured young, but we don't have that many amazing talents coming through. And so maybe that's finally when we'll have a team that's greater than the sum of its parts, rather than, so you can't never say never, but if we'll find a way to screw it up. We always do.
Well, Dominic, on that uplifting note, great to hear from you. Glad you're back from the States. Good luck for Fulham's your team, isn't it? Am I right, for the new season?
Fulham and Liverpool. My first memory of watching television is Kevin Keegan winning the Superstars, and then David Vine going into him, good luck with Liverpool, and then watching Liverpool for the first time, and Kevin Keegan scored, and I was like a Liverpool fan after that. But Fulham was always my local team, but they're in the 3rd division back in those days.
Well,
if they play each other, I just sort of turn a blind eye.
Well, I'll channel Keir Starmer and what he said about Spain and Argentina. Good luck to Fulham and Liverpool, but especially to Fulham next season. All right, Dominic, great to see you. Thanks, my friend.
Cheers.
See you soon. All the best. Bye now. So there you go. There's proof I have become like the extremely unhygienic Paul Cox. I haven't changed my shirt or my cap since interviewing Dominic Frisby yesterday. But there you go. That was the continuity director for UK Live Online insisted on that. Gents, we're coming to the end. I think we're almost getting to penalties. But let's reflect on what's been an absolutely epic festival of football. Highs, lows, despair, agony, glory. I've loved, well, not every minute of it, but most of them. I think I'm going to love football even more next season because of this. Glindex, let me start with you. Tell us your highs and your lows of the tournament.
Highs, Mark. It was almost in last night's game, but certainly a highlight of the game when the referee accidentally sent his foam spraying all over the Spanish players. I thought, actually, he should have just sprayed that stuff in the face of the Argentinians every time they gave him some lip. Just a quick squirt would have shut them up. But my real high is actually the expansion to 48 teams. I think it's worked an absolute treat. I think Sycofantino has done the right thing for the wrong reasons. He's basically just expanding his power base. But the accidental fallout of that has been a terrific tournament, seeing heroics like Vazinha, who for me should have got the Golden Glove, right? Best goalkeeping display in the tournament, rather than being behind the best defence. But nonetheless, that's a high for me. We're now talking about expanding to 64 teams. So I'm looking forward to, Greenland against Guam, or Vatican City against Guadeloupe, or you never know, the Falklands against Argentina. But that would be my highs of the tournament. My low, I got plenty going there, but I've gone for this one. Hamish messaged earlier, said he was opening a bottle of Merlot, and I'm going to do that when this is over. But I don't know if you saw this, but they cut to David Beckham in the guest box, quaffing on a big glass of red wine. And I thought, if Roy Keane was watching, he would have had a seizure. He would have choked on his prawn sandwich, I think. And then I'm going, Bex, where did you grow up? Leytonstone or something. Leytonstone, wasn't it? Where's the bovril? Where's the meat pie that's going to give you 3rd-degree burns? That was my low. I thought, the game's gone now.
Coxie, what about you, my friend? Your highs, your lows of the whole tournament?
I'll start with the lows, and they're very obvious. mention right up top for the Argentinians, absolute housery. The banner about Malvinas, which I don't know if still Malvinas, I still don't know what that is, but all I do know is that the Falklands are British. They voted to be British in 2013, and in 1982 we absolutely stuffed them away from home. So there is no doubt about it whatsoever. I do think that sadly the Florian Balogun incident with regards to Infantino, Donald Trump, FIFA, it is an issue and will rumble on as an issue beyond this World Cup. It might even be a legacy of this World Cup, unfortunately. Look, the FA was established in October of 1863. The first rules were nailed down by the Christmas of 1863, and since then we've pretty much had an agreement on how the game should be played, and it's fairly, which is why Argentina go into the lows and why Infantino goes into the lows too. My highs are two, actually. I've only told you all one of them, which is Cape Verde. Cape Verde is an absolute high for me as a result of the 48 teams. We got to see Cape Verde. Those Cape Verde games will stick in the memory for a long time. It reminds me of the Roger Miller of the 1990. There's always something that sticks, and I think Cape Verde will stick. But my absolute high, non-contested for me, is the World Cuppa show. I joined this show in week one, probably day 1 or 2, as a guest. Was invited back for inexplicable reasons and have stayed ever since. I've got to meet the Glindex. I've got to meet the team behind. I absolutely loved every single minute of this, even though at times I barely slept because of other media commitments. But it's been an absolute beautiful ride, Mr. Littlewood and Mr. Brailsford. Thank you ever so much. I love you both.
Thanks, Coxie. Bit of Saints Pompey love to see us out. Let's make sure we keep Cox in the box and the Glindex on the screen. For me, my low only came actually this morning. You might remember in a recent episode, I was putting forward the case that I was so sick of Fantino that I thought the time had come for UEFA to threaten to leave FIFA and for the English FA to lead that charge, Brexit style. I thought this was a brave, counter-revolutionary move that could actually sort the global governance of the game. I thought I was onto something. Then I read this morning that this has become official party policy of Sir Ed Davey and the Liberal Democrats. I shit you not, gents. Can you think of a lower point in a man's life than that? You come up with a radical, imaginative idea, and then you find yourself reading it back as official Lib Dem policy. That was the lowest of the low. Even losing to Argentina doesn't compare to that. I should say a high point, if we can pull up image number 1, please. I loved having Terry Neeshaw on the show, and he very kindly sent me that gorgeous piece of Southampton artwork. And I am looking forward to getting back to the club scene. It's a festival of football. But I think my overall high, gents, was actually the defeat of Argentina yesterday. And this image doing the rounds today on social media sums it up to me perfectly. How's this? Maggie as Fernandez, image 13. I'm going to get Terry Neeshaw to paint this for me and to have it framed on my wall. I want a 6 foot by 3 foot version of image 13. If we can put that on the screen now, please. There you go. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. That's just gorgeous. I want a painted version of all of that. So let's bring back Coxie and Brailsford. Look, we've done a total of 26 episodes. They will be released on a director's cut DVD and Blu-ray box set. 26 full episodes. Do you like extras on box sets, you guys? Where do you stand on extras on box sets?
Yeah, that used to be my favourite bit, actually, of most of the box sets. I absolutely love the extras. X-rated would be ours. You know, the extras, the behind the scenes. Brailsford, insisting on doing a couple of episodes nude, much to the embarrassment of me and Littlewood. That was something we did work through, and Glyn has understood why that made us feel uncomfortable now. But yeah, it'll be good to see.
What about you, Glyn? when we release the DVD box set, should it have loads of extras or just show it as it was? No enhancements, no extra material on the DVD box set. What do you think?
World Cup uncut. We've got to have it, haven't we?
What, all the extras as well?
Yeah.
My favourite story about the extras is a friend of mine who always insists on getting the highest end possible stuff on every movie, right? So it hasn't got the movie, it's got the director's cut, it's got documentaries about it, it's got the whole thing. And he sat down on this high definition, ultra Blu-ray 5D, whatever the hell it is, with his girlfriend to watch Schindler's List. And so they watched Schindler's List. And at the end, his girlfriend asked him, "That's great. Are there any extras, like a bloopers reel?" Can you imagine a bloopers reel on Schindler's List?
Oh no, the shower didn't come on. They're all laughing.
Now for us, I think the bloopers reel would be about half the goddamn show. So we'll make sure that we'll make sure we release that DVD Blu-ray box set with all the bloopers, all the uncut material cut in. Gents, it's been a pleasure. Thanks to you guys, but most of all, thanks to our loyal audience. It's been absolutely brilliant banter. We'll meet again. I don't know where, I don't know when, but I know we'll meet again some sunny day. And just here's a thought for you, because Mike Graham was saying to me earlier that this show has actually appealed to a lot of people who are not football fanatics, but wanted a sideways look at the competition, a bit of banter to learn a little bit about football. And I hope you've now fallen in love with the beautiful game, because look, I don't take heroin. Well, I haven't done for at least a fortnight. But I don't think that heroin is anything like as addictive as football. Once you fall in love with football, you will never get divorced from it. It is a great, great passion. And you might remember, because I suspect our viewers are of a certain age, you might remember Ewan McGregor's monologue in the movie Trainspotting, which is all about the dangers of heroin. But football is better, more addictive, but brings you a lot more pleasure. So just see us out on the grand finale, episode 26. Here's my homage to football with a nod and a wink to Ewan McGregor's monologue in Trainspotting. So if you can please play out clip 8. Choose football. Choose football. Choose life. Choose a favourite player. Choose a club. Choose a massive, great television set. Choose merchandise. Choose flags. Choose overpriced players. Choose a pass that could split open a tin. Choose bad for your health. Choose high blood pressure. And choose mental anguish. Choose fixed betting odds. Choose a starter pack of Panini stickers. Choose your favourite formation. Choose overpriced shirts and matching baseball caps. Choose a 3-man defence on loan from a range of different teams. Choose tactical debate and wondering who the hell you are after another loss on a Sunday morning. Choose sitting on the couch, stuffing tons of junk food into your mouth. Choose rotting away at the end of it all, crying at the final whistle of a miserable defeat, feeling nothing more than embarrassment about the selfish, screwed up brats who have been spawned in every team. Choose your passion. Choose football. But why do we want to do a thing like that? We choose to choose that life. We can't choose something else. And the reason? There are no reasons. Who needs reasons when you've got